The second I opened my eyes, I heard a woman breathing next to me, soft and unsteady. Her breath came in trembles, and I turned my head toward the faint light from the window. I could make out her face, and even in the dark she was stunning in a way that almost hurt to look at. The bruises across her collarbone were impossible to ignore, and I had no idea what had happened. A belt cracking against skin, a bottle shattering, a woman sobbing. Those wounds were ones I had caused. I had been reborn inside another man my own age. He was a drunken abuser, a total deadbeat. I had been Chen Zusheng, a man behind $1 billion empire, and now I woke up as the so-called man of this wrecked household. A wife-beater and a gambling addict. You are awake. Yeah, are you having trouble sleeping? I can go pour you some tea. No, you stay put, get some rest. I kept my voice as gentle as I could, but she flinched like a startled rabbit. All I could focus on was her bare feet on the cold concrete floor as she walked toward the door. When she glanced back, it was not at me. It was at the little girl curled up in the corner. Sarah. That one look she gave her daughter. The look in her eyes hit me in a way I had never felt before, and I had seen everything in the cutthroat world of business. It was like someone reached into my chest and squeezed my heart in my past life. I had closed deals worth hundreds of millions, sat across from world leaders, and had no shortage of women throwing themselves at me. I thought I had seen it all, but I had never seen a woman beaten down like this, waking up and tiptoeing around, terrified of disturbing the man who hurt her. And still her first thought was checking whether her daughter had slept okay. I sat up and rubbed my temples. More memories kept flooding in. He gambled, and when he lost, he took it out on his wife. Shut your mouth right now, you hear me? You little witch, you think you can mess with me. The worst beating left Sarah bedridden for 3 days, and she still had to drag herself up to cook for him. He never worked a day in his life. The whole family ran on what Sarah made selling fruit at the market. 2 or 3 grand a month, and he took every penny to gamble. He would lose it all, come home, and let her keep supporting him. He did not even care about his own daughter. When little Cassie spiked a fever of 102, he picked up the phone at the poker table and said, I am playing cards. Call me when she is dead, let it go. So yeah, yesterday he lost again, no big deal. What is Sarah worth as collateral? Tell me, what do you think she is worth? A plenty, she is a looker. Do not believe me, come by tomorrow and see for yourself. Someone is coming over today to check her out. That made me squeeze my eyes shut and take a long, slow breath. Sarah came back with a cup of tea, and I noticed Cassie shifting restlessly in her sleep. I lifted the mosquito net and took the cup. Come on in. If mosquitoes get in, they will bite the kid. Sarah looked up at me in total disbelief, like she could not wrap her head around hearing those words from a man who only ever hit or screamed at her. He climbed into bed to settle Cassie down, and Cassie lay with her back to me, her whole body just a little bit tense, and after a long, quiet moment, she whispered, You cannot sleep, right? I made a soft sound of agreement. Reading that as a signal, her fingers trembled as she reached for the buttons on her nightgown. The bed is creaking, keep it down. Her voice was flat, like someone who had given up fighting, and my head went completely blank. I understood in an instant. The man before me had made his wife do this right next to their daughter. Just to keep her from making a scene, a wave of disgust and fury crashed through me, followed by something even sharper, a deep and aching heartbreak. I reached out and grabbed her hand before she could undo another button. Sarah. I looked her in the eyes and said her name out loud for the very first time, like it actually meant something. Listen, you do not have to do this anymore, she shuddered head to toe. Her eyes went wide, flooded with shock and confusion. And underneath it all, a tiny, fragile flicker of hope she did not dare to feel. Get some sleep. I'm going to give you and Cassie a real life, I said it out loud, and the plan in my head suddenly became crystal clear. I was wide awake before sunrise the next morning, not out of habit, but because there was a fire in my chest telling me to start changing things right now. It was burning me up too bad to sleep. Sarah was already moving as quietly as possible. Sorry, Cassie got out of bed and jumped when she saw my eyes open. Oh, sorry. I woke up on my own, I sat up. I will go pick up Cassie today and then come with you to the stand. Business has been slow lately. I could see she thought I was coming to take money again. Fear had become second nature to her, but I did not explain myself this time. I got up and walked to the kitchen. The fridge had a few eggs, and a bowl of cold leftover rice sitting there looking lonely. When 2 plates of golden crispy fried rice hit the table, Sarah and Cassie just stood there staring, like they were watching something they could not explain. Cassie tilted her little face up. Mommy, Daddy can cook. Sarah did not answer. She just looked at me with this complicated expression. The market was loud and lively, and I stood in front of Sarah's fruit stall. Frowning slightly, it was way too bare bones. Just one kind of apple piled up messily with a crooked handwritten sign saying $3.80 a pound. The lady selling vegetables next door hollered over, Hey, look who showed up to help out today, must be a cold day in hell. I did not even glance her way. My brain was already running the numbers. Only one product, zero competitive edge, rigid pricing. Margins too thin, foot traffic way too low. Absolutely nothing drawing people in. Sarah had to go pay the vendor fee. Before she left, she gave me a nervous look and said quietly, The apples cost me $2 each, got it, go ahead. She kept glancing back as she walked away, and I crouched down, picked up one of those thin red plastic bags and felt the weight of it. Then I looked around at the crowd walking past, completely ignoring the little stall. In a split second, the whole plan snapped into place. I grabbed the cardboard from a nearby crate, picked up a marker off the ground, and wrote 2 lines in big, bold letters. Then without hesitating, I tore down the old price sign and put the new one right where everyone could see it. The neighbor lady poked her head over and burst out laughing. $20 a bag, fill it yourself, Chen Zuisheng. Your brain is straight up pickled in alcohol. You are going to lose your pants on this one. I slowly straightened up, smiled, and looked over at her. Ma'am, you cannot just count apples per pound. I am not trying to squeeze profit out of one bag. I need to clear out all the inventory as fast as possible. Get the cash back in hand and breathe some life into this dead-end stall. The new sign worked fast. A guy came over to take a look. Hey man, $20, fill the bag yourself, for real, these sweet or what? I grabbed an apple off the pile, peeled it in one quick move, and held it out. Try it, you tell me if it is sweet. He took a bite and without saying another word, grabbed the bag and started loading it up. Stuffing it like he was trying to make it burst, I smiled to myself. If you can carry the bag, the apples are yours. That line busted the floodgates open and the crowd swarmed in. $20 was not much, but the words "fill it yourself" lit up something primal in people, and they could not help themselves. The neighbor lady's smile froze. Her mouth hung open, watching the frenzy and the apples disappearing by the second. Her scale weight slipped out of her hand and she did not even bother picking it up. Sarah had finished paying and was heading back when she spotted her own stall buried under a crowd from halfway down the lane. Her face drained white. She was sure I had caused some kind of disaster. She shoved her way through, and the sight that greeted her stopped her cold. She saw me standing behind the stall, no groveling, no blowing up, just standing there, steady, taking money and handing out bags. While everyone around her was going crazy, grabbing her apples, the same apples that used to sit there all day barely selling, were visibly vanishing right before her eyes when she spotted the $20 fill it yourself sign. She went pale. Are you out of your mind? $20, fill the bag, we are going to lose everything, relax. I pointed at those bags. A full one holds maybe 5 pounds max. We are still making money. Look at them. They think they are getting a steal and they are lining up to hand us cash. She stood there blinking, then looked at the line. How much have we made? Almost $500. She stared at me with wide eyes like she was looking at a total stranger. The apples were almost gone and there was still a line stretching back. I asked her, do you want to restock? The people in line immediately started hollering. Hey man, go get more apples. Sarah grabbed her phone right away. Following my lead, she ordered a full truckload. Our supplier, Larry, drove over, took one look at the scene and just shook his head in amazement. All right, almost time to go pick up Cassie. We sold out the whole truck. Not bad at all. Larry counted on his fingers and his jaw dropped. Holy cow. We moved over 1,000 pounds today. Sarah could barely believe it. How much did we make? Revenue is around 4,300. I said it like it was pocket change. But this was the first step toward getting this family back on its feet. Sarah looked dazed. She used to struggle to earn this much in a whole month. After we packed up the stall, I pulled Sarah along to go buy groceries. Fish, pork, ribs, we spent close to 300. Sarah opened her mouth, then said nothing. I knew she was worried about the money, but today we had to celebrate. We picked up Cassie, and the little girl saw my arms full of groceries and burst into happy little jumps. Daddy, are we having a big dinner tonight? You bet. Sweet and sour fish and braised ribs. I bent down and gave her cheek a little nuzzle. Yay, I love Daddy the most. She bounced all around me and Sarah watched us and something in her eyes went soft. This house used to hold nothing but silence and fear, and now for the first time it had just a little warmth. The 3 of us walked home talking and laughing. Cassie chattering nonstop with a faint smile finally on Sarah's face. This right here was everything I came back for. We were passing the little corner store at the alley when Cassie suddenly tugged at my sleeve, her eyes all lit up. Pointing at a glass tank inside the shop, Daddy, look, little red goldfish. They are so pretty. They were just plain ordinary goldfish worth a few bucks each. But in Cassie's eyes, they were treasure. All right, Daddy, we'll get you one. Sarah turned back. I am going to head in and wash the vegetables. Do not take too long. She grabbed the groceries and walked with a light step toward the old rundown building a dozen yards away. I held Cassie and we picked out a fish together. Right. As I was paying, I caught something out of the corner of my eye, a few figures drifting up to my front door. Blocking Sarah, who was pulling out her keys, my stomach dropped. We have been waiting on you for a while, sweetheart. Sarah visibly startled. She stepped back and watched them warily, trying to figure out what they wanted. The blonde guy grinned and leaned in. Just here to give you a little heads up, babe. Your man Chen lost last night at the poker table and put you up as collateral with his phone gone. He said the boys could have a good time with you. Sarah swayed on her feet. The grocery slipped from her hands and hit the ground. Her face went completely white. Every bit of strength drained right out of her. I rushed over and Sarah had already turned around, her back to the thugs facing me as I ran toward her. Every bit of color had drained from her face and tears were pouring down silently. She looked at me holding our daughter, carrying the little fish tank, walking toward her like some decent father. Her lips were trembling, like she was trying to say something, and then I heard it. Chen Zuisheng, you spent a whole day putting on this little act, just to trick me into walking into this nightmare. She bent down and snatched up the groceries she had dropped. and hurled them at me with everything she had. I hate you. I want a divorce. The groceries hit me and scattered all over the ground. Cassie was terrified and burst into tears. Mommy, please do not hit Daddy. Before I could even say a word, Sarah spun around and bolted for the door, but she did not make it. The guy with the triangle eyes grabbed her wrist. Hey, sweetheart, not so fast. His hand started sliding up her arm and he grinned. Your man signed it in black and white. You are coming with us tonight. I watched Sarah freeze completely, the terror on her face even worse than before. In that instant, something inside me just snapped. Let her go when my voice dropped cold like that. It was something forged over 10 years in the cutthroat world of business. These punks had never seen anything like it. I cracked Triangle Eyes hard across the face and he stumbled back. Blood at the corner of his mouth. He stood there stunned. Every single one of them froze. Somebody kill him, he snapped out of it, and came flying at me like a maniac swinging. I stepped aside and drove my foot straight into his gut. He flew back screaming and hit the ground, dry heaving. The other three came at me cursing and I moved fast. Wrist locks, elbow strikes, knee shots, the combat training from my past life. Every move landing clean in under a minute. All four were flat on the ground, and I heard Cassie behind me pumping her tiny fist. Go, Daddy, beat the bad guys! Sarah did not make a sound. I walked over to Triangle Eyes and planted my foot on his chest. Looking down at him, listen up. Whatever he owed before is done. We are square. You come back here again, I will put you down every single time, got it? He still wanted to talk tough. You still owe the debt. We will call the cops. I laughed, running an illegal gambling ring with serious money on the table. What does that get you? Want me to spell it out? I have got it all on my phone. Should I make that call for you? Their faces went white instantly. Sorry man, we were out of line. We are out of here, hold on. I stopped them and glanced back at Sarah. She was still shaking, apologized to my wife. They looked like they wanted to die, but they hung their heads. Sorry, ma'am. I kicked Triangle Eyes out of the way. They scrambled off and the street went quiet. I turned and looked at Sarah, tear tracks still wet on her face. Still trembling, the way she looked at me held fear, suspicion, and deep hurt. It felt like needles in my chest. I stepped in front of her and looked her in the eyes. Every word slow and deliberate. Sarah, the Chen Zuisheng from before was worthless garbage. What he did to you dying 10,000 times would not be enough. I am not asking you to forgive me right now. I am just asking for one more chance. I swear on my life from this moment on, I Chen Zuisheng. If I ever let you or Cassie suffer even a little, I do not deserve to live. Sarah stared at me, tears streaming down her face. Her lips moved and finally she yelled with red swollen eyes. Chen Zuisheng, you are such a jerk! I am never trusting you again. And with that she grabbed Cassie and stormed inside. The door slammed shut, but she never mentioned divorce again. That was enough. I pushed the door open and went to the kitchen. Soon the smell of sweet and sour fish and braised ribs filled the whole place. I carried the food to the bedroom door. And knocked. Dinner is ready. Stay mad all you want, just do not let Cassie go hungry. I am sleeping on the couch. I set the tray down and walked away. Cassie's little voice came through the door. Mommy, it smells so good. A little while later, I heard the soft sound of bowls and chopsticks. I lay on the hard couch, staring up at the ceiling. The road ahead was long, but the direction had never been clearer. Protect them and make this family whole again. The bedroom door creaked open just a crack, and I closed my eyes, pretending to be asleep. A few seconds later, it quietly clicked shut, but this time it was not locked. The corner of my mouth turned up over the next few days. I showed up at the stall with Sarah every single day. The $20 fill it yourself deal had become a regular thing at the market. We were moving over 1,000 pounds of apples daily. In less than a week, Sarah had 10 grand sitting in her account. She would lie awake most nights. After a few days, sales started to dip. So I switched it up and brought in cherries and blueberries. She frowned. We tried that before. Could never move them. This time is different. I split the stall into 2 tiers. Budget tier, 15 a pound. Apples and peaches, premium tier, 25 a pound. Cherries and blueberries, your pick, all fruit, washed, sliced, and boxed. Add $1 and get unlimited yogurt. Add another $1 and get a free pound of apples. The stall looked clean and sharp, and it stood out like a sore thumb in the messy market. We cleared 3 grand that day. What really got me, though, was that more people bought the premium tier than the budget one at closing time. She could not help asking me why. I smiled at her because the higher price made them feel like they were getting an even better deal. Just $10 more for the premium stuff. Who would not go for that? Business is all about understanding people. She scoffed. Oh, listen to you. Her mouth said one thing, but the corners of her lips curled up anyway. We pulled in another 10 grand plus that week, and the way she looked at me was slowly starting to change. One afternoon, we picked up Cassie and came home to find a man in a sharp suit at the door. Sarah's older brother, Jake. Sarah ran over excited to see him. Jake glanced at her briefly, then turned and cut me with a look like a blade. Hey, come with me. I need to grab some smokes. I knew he had something to say. We walked out to the parking lot and he pointed at a BMW. This car is worth over 20 grand. What do you think? It is fine. He pulled out a bank card and slapped it in my hand. 20 grand in their car is yours too. Sign the divorce papers tomorrow. Cassie stays with Sarah, the money and car go to you. Clean break hearing Jake say that. I shook my head. Jake, things are different now. A leopard does not change its spots. Jake's expression went ice cold. Sarah was the apple of our family's eye. Look at the life you put her through. Drinking, gambling, you think you deserve her. Name your price. If it is not enough, anger shot through me. I knew he was talking about who I used to be, but the words still cut. Give me a few more months, he cut me off. You are lower than dirt. Some small town nobody who went to college and thinks that makes him a city person. If Sarah had not been blind back then, you would be nothing. You people just want to marry up and cash in. Snag a pretty wife to show off, right? You think you deserve that. I tightened my fist, then slowly let it go. Yeah, I come from nothing, and I have embarrassed your family. I looked him straight in the eyes, every word measured. But do not throw money at me, it will not work. Give me 3 months and I will have $1 million, then come talk to me. Jake paused for a second, then acted like he had just heard the funniest thing in his life. He let out a short laugh, and I was done with him. I turned around and walked back when I got home. Sarah came to meet me, eyes full of worry. Everything okay? Yeah, it is fine. Your brother was just giving me a pep talk, I said with a smile and a straight face. She did not believe me, but she let it go. Jake stayed for dinner, and at the table he looked around at the old furniture and frowned. You still have all this junk, are you not embarrassed? I was about to say something, when Sarah quietly tugged my hand under the table. She said softly to Jake, Hey, he has actually really changed lately. He has come up with a lot of ideas for me, and we have been making good money. Jake gave a cold snort and said nothing just then. His phone rang and he picked up. The color drained from his face instantly. What? Mr. Liu is not happy with our marketing proposal. Were we not supposed to finalize it today? The voice on the other end was frantic. I could faintly hear it from where I sat. Mr. Liu says the concept is stale. All that live the elite life crafted for the distinguished few stuff, he says nobody buys that anymore. He wants to meet with you personally in the next 3 hours or the whole consulting fee gets cut. And your position is on the line. Jake scrambled for his laptop and started trying to smooth things over with the client. The client wanted it to feel high-end, but not out of reach, culturally rich, but still fresh and young. I listened for a bit and glanced at his proposal. The whole approach was wrong. Luxury real estate does not sell homes. It sells belonging. It sells access. It sells a future, but I kept my mouth shut. Got up and went back to the kitchen when I came out with more dishes. Jake was gone, his laptop still open. The proposal half finished, he stepped out to take a call. Sarah looked stressed. If he loses this account, he might lose his job. This is apparently the biggest project at his company this year. Cassie suddenly looked up at me. Daddy, are you better than Uncle Jake? Only one way to find out. I smiled, sat down and moved the mouse. Then selected everything in Jake's unfinished proposal and deleted it. Are you crazy? Sarah gasped. Did you save it? Does not matter. His whole approach is wrong. I did not explain further. My fingers hit the keyboard and I let myself sink in. A new proposal took shape under my hands. Community tier strategy, resource integration framework, identity, validation system. Piece by piece it came together when Jake walked back in and saw me sitting at his laptop. He completely lost it. Who told you to touch my computer? He was trying to help. Sarah jumped in to explain. What does he know about real estate marketing? Jake charged over, ready to explode, but stopped dead in his tracks. On screen was a clean, polished, full marketing proposal. But a second later, his eyes went red. Where is my original plan? Gone. You. His whole body was shaking. Do you know how many nights I pulled to write that? But just then, his phone buzzed. The deadline had arrived. He looked at the nearly finished new proposal on the screen, and his expression shifted. He gritted his teeth and hit send, then turned and glared at me. If this deal falls through, you and I are not done. The results are not in. Yet I picked up my glass and took a sip. Less than 10 minutes later, his phone rang again. He answered, listened for a few seconds, and his jaw twitched. After he hung up, he looked at me with a complicated expression, grabbed his laptop and headed for the door. I need to get to the office. I will deal with you when I get back. I just smiled quietly. I knew exactly what he was about to walk into. The ideas in that proposal were on a level he simply could not explain on his own. Sure enough, not long after, my phone buzzed. It was Jake. On the other end, his voice had an awkward edge to it. Chen, can you come to my office right now? Mr. Liu insists on meeting whoever wrote this proposal. Send me the address. I will drive over and pick you up. Jake drove fast on the way to his office. The car was dead silent. He said nothing. I kept my mouth shut too when we hit a red light. He sat there stiff and finally forced out. When we get in front of Mr. Liu, let me do the talking. I will handle it. I glanced at him. Sure, and get caught on the spot. His face went red and he shut up. We walked into the conference room. A well-dressed, middle-aged man stood up and pointed at the projection. Mr. Chen, this community tier concept is solid. How do you actually execute it? I walked up to the screen. Had the assistant pull up the operations page. What I designed is an identity validation system. First, residents have to pass a homeowners committee review. Money alone is not enough. They need to bring real value to the community. Resources, connection, skills, or influence. Second, I recommend holding back 30% of units as a rotating pool. Invite top entrepreneurs, artists, and academics for short-term stays so the community carries its own prestige. Third, host a monthly inner circle forum open only to top industry names. Non-residents cannot even buy a ticket. Mr. Liu's eyes lit up. You are turning the home into a membership. He followed up with a few more details. I answered everyone clean. The senior planners in the room kept nodding. All right, Mr. Liu stood up. Eyes locked on me. VP of marketing position is open, base salary 500 grand a year. You and 500 grand. I heard Jake's breath catch. I smiled and shook my head. I need to help my wife run her stall, not looking for a job right now. Mr. Liu paused and I kept going. That said, I want to mention something. If you do not mind, your pricing on this development is way too conservative. The air in the room went tight. Jake immediately grabbed my sleeve. Mr. Liu narrowed his eyes. What do you mean, Mr. Chen? We are already the highest priced project in this area given current market conditions. If I am reading this right, your planned launch price is 8,500 per square meter. Correct, I paused. I would push it above 12,000. The room let out a quiet collective gasp. Someone was already shaking their head, Mr. Liu said evenly. Mr. Chen, you may not have a full read on the market. Anything above 9,000 in this area stops selling. That is just where we are. I walked over to the window and pointed to the vacant lot east of the development. First, the NDRC meeting minutes from last week mentioned densifying the transit network in the Eastern New District. Second, the new mayor's remarks at last month's construction sector forum specifically emphasized cutting commute times between new development zones and the city core. Third, the land use map. The Planning Bureau quietly updated on their website shows that lot east of your project has been reclassified from reserved land to transportation infrastructure. The room went quiet. Every eye in the room was on me. Connect those dots. Then factor in the new mayor's track record. Before this posting, he served in the South City New District. His very first move there was pushing through a subway extension. So I am calling it within 6 months, the extension line plan goes public. And the station almost certainly lands right east of your project. Mr. Liu shot to his feet. How confident are you? 70%, I said calmly. But even at 50, it is worth the bet because the moment that announcement drops, prices jump 30% or more. You price at 12,000 now. It looks steep, but compared to actual value 6 months out, it is still a deal. I looked at Mr. Liu. More importantly, once the subway news is out, affordable mass market units nearby will flood the scene. If you are still sitting at 8,500, you completely lose your premium positioning. Wealthy buyers do not want to live next to people riding the subway to work. Dead silent in the room. Mr. Liu stared at me for a solid minute, then picked up his phone. Secretary Wang reached out to Director Li at the Planning Bureau. Quietly feel out the subway situation in the Eastern New District. We waited 10 minutes. That felt like 10 years. Then the phone rang. Mr. Liu answered, and as he listened, his expression grew heavier and heavier. Finally, he said just one thing: confirmed. Got it, thanks. He hung up and turned to me. Come on board as VP of Marketing, 1 million a year. You and 1 million a year. I watched Jake go completely red and freeze up. I shook my head again, not interested in a 9 to 5. I want to be with my family. Mr. Liu studied me for a long moment, then laughed quietly. Fair enough, but I still want you involved in this project as a consultant. Name your price. I looked over at Jake. Actually, Jake has got the fundamentals down cold. He has fully absorbed the vision behind the strategy. Mr. Liu, I would recommend working directly with him. Jake froze. He looked at me completely floored. Mr. Liu thought it over and finally nodded. All right, I am counting on both of you for this one. Walking out of the building, Jake still seemed like he was in a daze. He finally asked, you turned down $1 million a year. And you figured out the subway thing on your own. It is all out there in the news. I told him the fruit stall needs someone there. He went quiet for a few seconds. Then his voice came out a little unsteady. Do you know what $1 million a year even means? I grinded for 8 years and I am not even at half that. Look. Jake, this deal closed. You are a hero at your company. I clapped him on the shoulder. Doors are going to open for you. I got in the car and left. In the rearview mirror, he was still standing there watching me go. He did not move for a long time. Jake showed up again at dinner. I raised my cup. Tea instead of liquor. Jake, I owe you a real apology for everything I put this family through. Sarah froze. Chopsticks stopped midair. I knew exactly what was going through her head. The old Chen Zuisheng never apologized for anything ever. Jake shifted uncomfortably and looked away. Sarah glanced between them both, then spoke up. Jake, did you say something to him again? I smiled it off. He was just pushing me to do better. Sarah put down her chopsticks and looked straight at Jake. He is my choice and this is my life. Whatever comes, I will deal with it if you actually care about me. Stop saying things that put me in the middle in the soft light. Her eyes held a quiet, stubborn certainty like she had made up her mind and was not going back. Jake drained his cup in one go. He let out a long sigh and said nothing more, finished eating quickly and left after seeing him out. I turned around and Sarah was watching me. You were really different today, how so? I cannot put my finger on it. She tilted her head. It just feels like a really long nightmare is finally over late that night. I was making up the couch like usual when Sarah came out of the bedroom with her pillow and blanket. She stopped at the doorway and looked back at me. You really like sleeping on that couch, huh? She pressed her lips together, hiding a smile. Turned and went back inside. The door stayed open. Early the next morning, Sarah took Cassie to check out a new preschool. I stayed home going over the finances, thinking through next steps. Around noon, my phone suddenly rang. It was Sarah. Her voice was thick with tears. Noisy backgrounds. We shouldn't get to City General right now. Cassie suddenly could not breathe. She is in the emergency room. My mind went blank. I dropped everything and ran. The Zhu family had already arrived when I got to the hospital. Sarah's father, Richard, came straight at me.
Fuming Chen Zuisheng.
Look what you let happen to that child. The doctor said this should have been caught a long time ago. A nurse quickly stepped in and asked everyone to keep it down. Sarah's mother, Helen, came over red-eyed, her voice shaking. The doctor says it is idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension, a rare condition. The medication she is on right now is just to stabilize her. She needs a targeted specialty drug. The imported version runs over $30,000 a month, and she will need it long-term. My heart felt like it stopped pulmonary arterial hypertension. How did this happen? Sarah collapsed into my arms, shaking with sobs. The doctor said she probably had it for a while. The symptoms were subtle. I just never caught it. She would say she was tired sometimes. I thought she was just worn out from playing. None of that matters right now. Richard's voice went cold. Treatment costs money. That medication is $30,000 a month. Can you two actually cover that? Helen looked at her daughter. Sarah, listen to your mother. Get the divorce, the medical bills after that. Our family will handle everything. Sarah's head snapped up. Mom, what are you saying? You want to keep suffering with him? Look at your child. Helen was crying too. She cannot go without the medication if she does. Her condition will deteriorate fast. Sarah stared at the closed emergency room door. Tears streaming, but she wiped her face hard. Stood up straight, Mom. I have already said it. He is my choice, and this is my life. No matter how hard it gets, we handle it ourselves. Can you actually handle it? Richard snapped. $30,000 a month, and nobody knows how long she will need it. I stepped in front of Sarah and looked Richard straight in the eye. We will figure out the money. That is not your problem. Figure it out. How exactly? Jake cut in. Mr. Liu offered you $1 million salary, and you walked away. I have my own plan. I cut him off. Cassie is our daughter, and we will take care of her. Richard stared at me for a long moment, then let out a cold laugh. Fine, you have got guts. Then handle it yourselves. Let's go. The Shu family left. Sarah leaned against my shoulder, quietly crying. Her shoulders would not stop trembling. Do not worry. I rubbed her back. I am here, but the medication. She looked up through tears. $30,000 a month money is the last thing to worry about. I looked out the window. You take care of Cassie. Leave the rest to me at the billing window. I looked down at my bank card. Every dollar in there earned through early mornings and late nights. But I knew to give our daughter a real shot, this was nowhere near enough. In my past life, I built a billion-dollar empire from nothing, and in this life, for this family, I had to make serious money and make it fast. Walking the hospital corridor. My mind was racing through every memory of ways to make fast money. Futures too slow. Antiques too murky. Gem trading needs connections. Then one very specific memory suddenly snapped into focus. An underground betting site had a virtual horse racing section with a payout preview exploit. Someone used it to pull out over $2 million in 3 days, and the site only caught it during a routine reconciliation. The mechanics were not complicated, but the timing had to be precise. To drive up betting action, the site was designed so that in the final 30 seconds of a virtual race, the system would calculate your potential winnings based on live odds and flash them as available balance in your account. The key was that inside those final 30 seconds, if you used that phantom balance to place a new bet on another race that was also about to end, the system would actually validate it if you timed it right. A small amount of real money could leverage dozens of times that in phantom funds through a chain of bets. When everything settled out, as long as the final bet won, the profit was real. Think of it like being at a casino. You put down $100. The dealer sees you are about to win and slides you 1,000 in chips. Says that might be yours, and you immediately take that 1,000 to another table and win. The casino has no choice but to pay out, and I knew the exact mechanics of this exploit. The timing window, the trigger conditions, and how to stay under the radar. More importantly, right now at this moment, the exploit was still unknown. I glanced at the clock on the hospital corridor wall. 2:20 p.m. I turned and walked quickly out of the hospital wing. There was a beat-up internet cafe nearby. Thick with cigarette smoke, I grabbed a machine in the farthest corner. Logged into what looked like an ordinary sports news site, but I knew the hidden entry point through 3 redirects. It landed on a bare bones page, nothing but plain text and basic animations. Lucky Racing. Virtual races ran 3 minutes each. I took a slow, deep breath. Step 1. Create a new account with a randomly generated username. Step 2. Deposit. The site supported several low-profile third-party payment options. I spread a small deposit across multiple transactions. 5 minutes later. $5,000 loaded. Account balance 5,000 points. Time 2:40 p.m. First virtual race starts. I put 1,000 on horse number 3 to win at 2.5 odds. The simulation ran, and with 40 seconds left, number 3 moved up from 5th to 2nd. Right. Then the available balance in the bottom right corner of my screen ticked. Jumping from 4,000 to 5,500, the system had front-loaded the 1,500 in projected winnings. From my $1,000 bet, but I did not move. This was normal display behavior, not the exploit yet. Race ended, number 3 won by a nose-reel settlement. Profit 1,500, account balance 6,500. Second race 2:45 p.m. I put 2,000 on a quinella. Pick the top 2 finishers in either order. Odds 3.2, final 30 seconds. The system front-loaded the payout again. My balance jumped from 4,500 to 11,400. 4,500 plus 2,000 times 3.2. This was the moment. With 25 seconds left in the race, I quickly switched to a separate virtual soccer market that was also about to close. Dropped the full 11,400 on a goal scored in the final 5 minutes. Odds 1.8, the system validated it. Bet accepted, the exploit was real. It had treated the projected payout as actual available funds. My pulse started climbing. Horse race settled, quinella, hit profit 6,400. Soccer match settled 89th minute. Virtual striker buried a long-range shot, profit 20,520. Account balance instantly read 5,000 minus 3,000 plus 6,400 plus 20,520. 26,920 in under 10 minutes. 5 grand had turned into 27. But I did not stop. I knew the exploit could be chained. As long as I hit the 30-second window on each race, it would snowball. The phantom capital multiplying exponentially, and even a loss only cost virtual funds. Round 3, round 4, my hands flew across the keyboard and mouse. Eyes tracking 3 different race windows with 3 different countdowns. Every move had to land within the second. 3:21 p.m. I executed the final round. The final account balance on screen, 726,800. 726,800. I had turned 5 grand into that. In under an hour, over 140 times my starting amount. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the number on screen, my palms soaked with sweat. I hit withdraw and the site flagged it. Large withdrawals require manual review. Funds will arrive within 2 hours. I wiped the browser history, shut the machine down, and walked out. The sunlight hit hard when I stepped outside. I shielded my eyes and took a long, slow breath. 700 grand was still not enough to fully treat Cassie. We were going to need a lot more. But I knew someone was about to come hand me exactly that. I pushed open the hospital room door and heard the nurse's flat voice. Ms. Xu, the system only shows a $5,000 deposit on file. The full amount is due today or we cannot proceed with the tests and medication. Sarah was on the verge of tears. That is not right. My husband paid $10,000 an hour ago. Then she saw me walk in and her voice cut off. Where is it? Where is that $10,000? I only paid $5,000. I looked her straight in the eyes. The other $5,000, I put it on a horse race. Horse racing. Sarah's expression shattered. She staggered back. Like every ounce of strength had been drained out of her. Chen Zuisheng. That was Cassie's lifeline and you gambled it away. She came at me, fists hitting my chest, sobbing her heart out. What kind of person are you? What happened to your promise? The nurse nearby shook her head in disgust, her eyes full of contempt. I caught Sarah's wrist, dropped my voice low. Just listen to me. I won. The money hits the account within 2 hours. Cassie's medical bills are covered. She stopped and looked up at me with eyes that had completely given up. Here we go again. You are lying again. Her finger pointed at me, trembling badly. You know I hate nothing more than gambling, and you made a vow. I stayed quiet. Anything I said right now would just sound like excuses. Give me 2 hours. I let go of her and looked over at Cassie, lying pale in the bed. 2 hours from now, I will be back with the money. I turned and walked out behind me. Her quiet, broken sobs followed me down the hall. When I came back with warm congee, Sarah was slumped over the bedside. She looked like she had fallen asleep, but her shaking shoulders gave her away. Cassie was awake, her tiny body hooked up to tubes. When she saw me, she managed a weak little smile. Daddy, Cassie was good. I leaned down and gently touched her cheek. Daddy is going to beat this thing and take you to the best amusement park ever. And get you cotton candy as big as a cloud. Cassie's eyes lit up a little, and she whispered, I want to stay with Mommy and Daddy forever. Sarah lifted her head, her eyes completely red. She looked at Cassie's pleading little face, then back at me, and finally, just let out one long, exhausted sigh. She handed me a tissue. Go do what you have to do. Her voice was hoarse. I have got her. I knew this was the last bit of trust she was giving me. I checked the time and walked out of the room. I did not look back. I came out of the hospital and was heading toward the bank when a black Mercedes cut in front of me. The door swung open and 2 stone-faced men in black stepped out. Mr. Chen, Mr. Gu would like a word in the car. That was fast. I nodded and got in. The interior was spacious, and a man in his 40s, dressed in a sharp tailored suit, sat across from me. His face was not threatening. He even carried a kind of refined, calm Gu Weidong. In my past life, I had dealt with him plenty, even partnered with him a few times. Chen Zuisheng, he looked up at me, talented hands. I have had 7 or 8 developers maintaining that system, watching it for 3 years without a single issue. You walk in on day 1 and blow a hole right through it. Tell me how you found it. I leaned back and held his gaze. Mr. Gu, you run a gambling operation and you are scared of someone winning. The system had a flaw. That is your problem. I won fair and square. You planning to stiff me on this? Gu Weidong's eyes narrowed slightly. 700 grand. Gu Weidong can afford to take the hit. He smiled. The money is yours. But you cannot walk away without giving something back. I knew he was feeling me out. In my past life I knew him well, but I could not show all my cards right now. I smiled fine. I am not taking your money for nothing. How about I trade you one piece of information? Gu Weidong raised an eyebrow. Let's hear it. It is about your father, Gu Changgang. Gu Weidong's finger stopped turning his ring. Has he been having chest tightness lately? Numbness down the left shoulder and arm. My voice stayed even. Get a coronary CTA done. Immediately focus on the mid-segment of the left anterior descending artery, a routine physical. Will not catch non-calcified plaque. Gu Weidong's pupils tightened. He stared at me for a beat, then immediately made a call. Dr. Wang, please arrange an urgent cardiac workup for my father, coronary CTA, with focus on the left anterior descending. Yes, right now. The car fell into silence 40 minutes later. The phone rang. Gu Weidong picked up. His expression dropped, and after he hung up, the way he looked at me had completely changed. Severe stenosis of the left anterior descending. Over 85% any later, and it would have been too late. Chen Zuixing, who exactly are you? That does not matter. I held his gaze. My money is safe. Unfreeze it. Now you are on my turf. Gu Weidong kept his eyes on me. Nobody touches it. But a man like you does not risk himself for 700 grand. You are holding something else. Sharp as ever you are, right? There is one more piece. I looked him in the eyes. About a woman you have been looking for over a decade. And a child she has that you probably do not even know exists. Gu Weidong sat bolt upright. All composure gone, eyes wide with shock. What did you say? She settled down in Suzhou, married a middle school teacher. Living quietly, I dropped my voice. She has a daughter, birthday June 17th, 7 years old. Gu Weidong went pale. His fingers trembled slightly. That date, that age. He understood. You name your price. His voice went rough. 5 million, the information is yours. A Kiang, wire it now. Gu Weidong turned and gave the order. 10 minutes later. My phone buzzed, a bank deposit notification. I sent him the full details. I had typed out transaction complete. I pulled the door open. My daughter is in this hospital and she needs total quiet. Do not let any trouble come near us. Gu Weidong gave a firm nod. I will make sure she gets the best resources in that hospital. The door closed. The Mercedes pulled away. I stood at the hospital entrance. Over 5 million in my account. Cassie's medical costs were covered. I gripped my phone and walked quickly back inside. I ran back to the room as fast as I could, push the door open. Sarah was not there. Richard sat by the bed, looking furious, his own daughter lying there sick. And you are out running around. I ignored him, walked to the bed and felt Cassie's forehead, then asked quietly, Where is Mommy? She said she had an errand. Left me to watch Cassie. Richard scoffed. You two are both disappearing for hours at a time. Something is off. My gut dropped. Sarah would never leave Cassie alone for hours at a time. I called her immediately, no answer. Richard sensed something was wrong too. Why is she not picking up? Just then a cleaning lady's voice carried down the hallway. Those shameless people are posting surrogacy ads in the bathroom again. How do they sleep at night? A terrifying thought hit me like a freight train. Sarah would not know. She would not be that desperate. But a second later I saw her face in my mind, red-eyed and stubborn. She absolutely would. I spun and bolted out of the room. Where are you going? The hospital is still asking about the bill. Richard shouted after me. Bill is paid. You are welcome. I sprinted to the women's restroom. Ignoring the screams from inside, I pushed open stall after stall. Third stall had a crooked handwritten phone number and a high-pay surrogacy ad on the wall. Advance payment 300 grand. I dialed it immediately. I need a surrogate. I kept my voice low and hard. Need a child. Fast money is not an issue. The woman on the line got cautious. Sir, you have the wrong number. Drop the act, I said coldly. My wife cannot have children. I want a boy. Gender selection, if possible. A few seconds of silence. Then her tone warmed right up. Sir, you are well informed. We can do that. Price-wise, money is not the issue. I cut her off, but I want to choose the candidate. No one who has done this before. First time only, never been pregnant. Young, healthy, good genes. First timer, we do not have anyone available right now. She hesitated. Really no one? I pushed harder. She stumbled. How did you know we have that kind of placement? I said coldly. Send me the address. I am coming now. If I like what I see, double the rate. Double. Her voice changed immediately. Sir, are you serious? I'm on the clock. I glanced at my watch. 20 minutes, keep her for me. If she has already signed paperwork and the process has started, forget it. Nothing signed yet, just an initial checkup. Come on over, sir, we will be here. I hung up and ran out of the hospital. Flagged down a cab driver. Get me to this address fast. At the same time, I called 911 and quietly gave them the address. Reported suspected illegal surrogacy operation. 20 minutes later, I was standing in a rundown urban village in front of a beat-up building with a home services sign out front. I went straight up to the third-floor door. Was cracked open. A heavily made-up middle-aged woman sized me up. You must be the client. Where is she? I walked straight inside in the lounge. The woman smiled and followed. This one checks all your boxes. 28, natural birth, 1 daughter, clean health record. Needs money quick, easy to negotiate, push open the door. Sarah was sitting on a worn-out couch, gripping the hem of her shirt. When I walked in, her eyes went wide. She froze completely, that is her. I looked her over with a blank expression like I was inspecting merchandise. Stand up, turn around when she stood. There was genuine fear on her face. How is she, sir? The woman fawned, good-looking, great figure. College educated too? I walked up and stood in front of Sarah, looked at her face. Too thin, can she carry a son? We cannot guarantee boy or girl 100%. But we do offer gender selection, the woman jumped in. I need to guarantee a son, I said flatly. I will pay whatever it takes, but if it comes out a girl, you take full responsibility, sir. That is an enormous risk. Big risk, big reward. I turned and looked straight at the woman. I want this one. Name a price and we sign right now. I am taking her with me today. The woman froze. Sir, that is not how the process works. I pulled a bank card out of my pocket. Money is not the issue, but I am taking her with me right now. The woman's eyes shifted. Sir, that is against protocol. If we just hand her over, get someone who can actually make this call. I stared her down, or admit that you cannot. Her expression flickered. Sir, give me just a moment. She stepped out and pulled the door shut behind her. The second the door closed, Sarah rushed to me. Grabbed my arm. You are crazy. Let's just go right now. I squeezed her hand. Trust me. Footsteps came from outside the door, swung open. The woman was back with two big guys behind her, and a middle-aged man in a suit with gold-rimmed glasses. Sir, this is our director, Mr. Chen. He looked me over. Heard you want to take her out today, all in 80 grand guaranteed, boy. 50 now, I transfer her to you and you walk out. Balance due. Once pregnancy is confirmed. Mr. Chen smiled. That is not how we work. Full payment up front, we deliver her to wherever you want. He adjusted his glasses. The smile had an edge to it, otherwise you might find it hard to walk out of here. I narrowed my eyes. My money is not that easy to take. Then let's see if you can make it out that door. Mr. Chen gave a look. Both men stepped forward just then. A faint wail of sirens drifted up from the street below. Mr. Chen's face went pale. You called the cops, I did not call anyone. I smiled coldly, but sounds like your operation is not exactly clean. The sirens were closing and fast chaos broke out downstairs. Mr. Chen screamed, take him out. Go out the back. The two guys came at me from both sides. I shoved Sarah hard into the corner, grabbed a chair and swung it at the guy on the left. Cracked the wood splintered across his shoulder. He grunted, slowed for just a beat, but the guy on the right was already swinging. Aimed straight at my temple, I twisted away. His fist grazed my cheekbone and it burned like fire. Before I could get my footing, there was a flash of steel. He had pulled out a switchblade and lunged straight at Sarah. Sarah's scream exploded in my ear. In a split second, I dove forward. Threw myself in front of her, the blade punched into flesh with a dull thud. Searing pain detonated through me. Left shoulder went ice cold. Then turned to burning. The guy never expected me to charge into the blade. He froze for just a second, and that was all I needed. My right hand locked onto his knife wrist, and I drove my forehead into his nose. Crack bone snapped. He screamed and let go of the blade. He stumbled back. Police freeze. Everyone on the ground just then. Officers flooded up the stairs. I pressed my hand over my bleeding shoulder, stepped in front of Sarah and raised my right hand. Officers, we are the victims here. Mr. Chen was still squirming on the floor and got pinned down hard by the officers. A young cop took one look at me covered in blood and grabbed his radio. We have an injured civilian up here, need an ambulance. Sarah rushed over and pressed her trembling hands against my wound, tears pouring down her face, her voice completely broken. You are bleeding so much. I leaned against the wall and managed to smile, reached up with my good hand and gently touched her face. It is just a flesh wound. As long as you were okay, that is all that matters. By the time we left the precinct, it was pitch dark outside. Sarah was gripping my arm tight, her fingertips ice cold and trembling slightly. We found a quiet spot and she stopped walking. She looked up at me, tear streaks all down her face. How did you know I was there? How did you come alone? I reached up and gently wiped away her tears. Because you are my wife. And Cassie is our daughter. If the sky falls, I am the one holding it up. Do not worry, the hospital deposit has already been paid. Sarah buried herself in my arms and sobbed like she was crying out every last drop of fear and pain. I held her shaking body tight and let the tears soak through my shirt. The sky had no stars, but the darkest part of the night was already behind us. Back at the hospital, a nurse cleaned and dressed my wound. The stab to my left shoulder took more than a dozen stitches. The doctor said another centimeter, and it would have hit a nerve. Once I was bandaged up, I told Sarah to go back to Cassie's room. She hesitated. She had already been away from her daughter too long. She could not settle and finally gave a small nod and went. I sat in the treatment room and caught my breath, just as I was about to get up. My phone buzzed a bank deposit notification. Gu Weidong had sent over another transfer. He called it a medical fund for Cassie. I checked the amount. It was enough. I pushed open the hospital room door and found Jake standing at the end of the hallway on his phone. When he saw me, his expression darkened. He hung up and walked over Chen Zuisheng. He kept his voice low. Where did the 500 grand deposit come from? Won it gambling on virtual races, I said. He stared at me for a few seconds and let out a cold laugh. Chen Zuisheng gambled for years and never once brought a dime home. Now the kid gets sick and suddenly you are on a winning streak. I did not respond. I bet you went crawling to Mr. Liu to borrow it. Played too proud to take the job, then turned around and begged for money. I am warning you. Whatever $1 million debt you racked up, do not drag the Zhu family into it. He turned and walked away, and I stood there watching him go. Over the next month, Cassie stayed in the hospital. Idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension is extremely rare, and in this country, all we could do was keep her stable on imported medication. Her condition kept slowly slipping, and Sarah and I took shifts. She took days, I took nights. When I got tired, I would lean against the hallway chairs for a bit. When I got hungry, I would grab the cheapest takeout box from the hospital cafeteria. The Zhu family never showed up. I knew Sarah was hurting over it, but she never said a word. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and see her slumped over the bedside, holding Cassie's little hand, staring into nothing. A month later, the Zhu family finally came. The doctor was running Cassie's checkup, and after it was done, he told us the current medication could only slow the progression. It could not reverse it. Long-term, the strain on her heart and lungs would only get worse. Richard heard all that, and the first thing out of his mouth was about money. The 500 grand is almost gone, right? Jake's tone was flat. Have you figured out how you are going to pay it back? It was not borrowed, Sarah said. Not borrowed, Helen cut in. Did it fall from the sky? Richard pointed right at me in front of everyone. Nothing but lies. My daughter and granddaughter are suffering because of you. I kept my temper down. Dad, keep your voice down. Do not scare the child. You think you can call me Dad. Just then the hospital room door swung open. The doctor walked in with a group of specialists. We have some news. The doctor looked at us, a world-class cardiopulmonary team from overseas. We'll be conducting a cutting-edge interventional procedure here in the country soon, combined with a precision gene-targeted therapy approach by rebuilding pulmonary microcirculation. Paired with targeted molecular regulation, there is a real chance to reverse the disease at the root. He paused. Cassie's indicators are a perfect match. Sarah grabbed my hand hard. Her eyes went red, but treatment has to begin immediately. The initial cost is $1 million. I stepped out of the room. At the end of the hallway, I called Gu Weidong. Do not worry about the money, he said. Professor Roberts is someone I brought in personally from Zurich. He reviewed your daughter's case and said she is in better shape than expected. The surgery results should be excellent. Thank you. No need. He paused. The mother and daughter have both been found. Mr. Chen, I owe you one for this. I hung up, went to the billing window and paid, then walked back to the room. I heard Richard's voice through the door. See that? The second money comes up, he disappears. Sarah, just say the word and divorce him. The Zhu family will cover everything. Sarah's voice was quiet but steady. Mom, Dad, Jake, I appreciate it, but we really do not need it. Zhu Sheng paid another $1 million in deposit 2 days ago. The room went silent for a few seconds. A nurse pushed the door open to prep for surgery and casually mentioned, Sweetie, your father just paid another $1 million this morning, designated for ongoing treatment and specialty medication. I stood in the doorway watching Richard, Helen, and Jake all frozen in place. The red light above the operating room glowed. Sarah leaned against my shoulder, her whole body trembling slightly. I held her hand. Professor Roberts is one of the world's leading authorities on pulmonary arterial hypertension. He has done 27 cases like this. Every single one a success. Jake walked over with a stiff expression. Chen Zuisheng, how much did you borrow from Mr. Liu? I looked up at him. That is not your concern. $2 million. The whole Xu family selling their house could not cover it. He turned to Sarah. Sis, just be straight with me. Sarah opened her mouth, but Richard stormed over. Got right in my face, ask him. All he does is lie and gamble. He turned to Sarah. Sarah, your father has $1 million in savings right now. Just say the word and file for divorce, and I will wire it straight to you. But first thing tomorrow morning, I am putting that money into a government-backed elderly care investment program. Helen chimed in. The annual return is at least 30%. It is an exclusive opportunity through the Retired Officials Network 10-year contract. After 10 years, you get the property back plus all the investment returns. Commissioner Zhou said himself, this is a government pilot program. Very limited spots. We figured the money would grow. And eventually it all goes to you kids anyway. I looked at Richard. Dad, what you are describing is a scheme where you pledge your property to a third-party company in exchange for retirement payouts, right? Richard blinked and looked dismissive. A senior official personally vouched for it. Legitimate company contract was reviewed by a lawyer. What do you know? This is a scam pattern that has been circulating for a couple years now. These so-called professional firms are usually shell companies registered with almost no capital. They will pay out for a few months right on schedule, but by the time you realize something is wrong, both the property and the money are gone. As for Commissioner Zhou, he is either being scammed himself, or he is part of it. Before I could finish, Richard exploded. That is total nonsense. We have relationships and connections built over a lifetime. And you think some gambling deadbeat gets to lecture us a contract in black and white? The government will hold them accountable. You are just jealous. Huh? Sarah suddenly stood up, her voice shaking. Take your investment deal and go. I do not want your money. Whatever happens to Cassie, we will handle it ourselves. Richard's face went stone cold, staring at his daughter, unable to speak. Finally, he shook his head hard. Fine. Do not come crying to me later. Helen sighed red-eyed. Jake opened his mouth, then closed it. The family turned and left. The hallway outside the operating room went suddenly still. Sarah sank into the chair. Tears sliding down in silence, I gently put my arm around her shoulders. 4 hours later, the operating room light went off. The lead surgeon walked out with a smile on his face. The surgery was a complete success. Cassie will need 48 hours of ICU observation. But the prognosis is very optimistic. Sarah's knees buckled. I caught her just in time. She covered her face, and tears poured through her fingers, but this time they were tears of relief. 2 months later, Cassie met the criteria for discharge. Color had come back to her little cheeks, and though she still needed regular medication and checkups, she was back to bouncing around to celebrate her recovery. We booked a table at a newly opened upscale steakhouse while she was in the hospital. I had made her a promise. Once she got better, I would take her out for the best steak she ever had. The restaurant had a nice vibe, and Cassie sat there swinging her little legs with excitement. Sarah tucked a napkin into her collar and the food arrived. I was just about to cut into my steak when a well-dressed young man passed by our table. He glanced over casually and his eyes landed on Sarah. He stopped cold Sarah. Her face showed surprise and then shifted into something amused and a little pointed. He stepped closer and his gaze swept over me and Cassie, lingering on Cassie for just a beat too long before his eyes went back to Sarah. Heard you got married, is this? Sarah's fingers tightened slightly. This was Zach, the guy Sarah's parents had been pushing hard for her to date back in the day. Seeing him, Sarah's body visibly stiffened. Zach. Sarah's voice came out a little forced. What a coincidence. Zach turned to me and looked me over slowly. The sizing up was not subtle. He extended his hand. Mr. Chen, I presume nice to meet you, and your kid is already this big. I stood up and took his hand, and he deliberately squeezed harder. I did not react, just looked at him calmly. Since we ran into each other, mind if we join you? Zach said smoothly. Then turned to introduce a polished woman standing behind him. Babe, this is my old friend Sarah and her husband. Sarah, this is my girlfriend Ashley. He put just a little extra weight on old friend and girlfriend, and Ashley's eyes swept over Sarah quickly, landing on her outfit before a trace of superiority settled onto her face. She smiled brightly. Sarah, right. What a coincidence, let's sit together. Sarah quietly squeezed my hand under the table. I squeezed back and smiled at Ashley. Oh, Ashley, you are too kind. You look quite a bit more mature than my wife. Ashley's smile went stiff. Zach ordered several pricey dishes, then looked over at me, Mr. Chen. What do you do these days? Taking care of my own business, I said flatly. Today is my treat. Small business suits me. I like the freedom. He turned to the server. Can we get a bottle of the manhwa Chet Blanc 2015? Let it breathe for a bit. He rattled off the wine name smoothly, then looked at Sarah. Sarah, I remember you were never much of a drinker, but the white wine here pairs beautifully with the seafood. You should give it a shot. Ashley jumped right in. Oh, absolutely. Zach has such refined taste that wine is not cheap either, right, babe? She was asking Zach, but her eyes drifted pointedly towards Sarah. Zach played it cool, just something that pairs well today. The wine arrived quickly, and the server followed proper etiquette, pouring a small amount into Zach's glass for him to taste. Zach swirled it, gave it a sniff, took a small sip, and let it sit on his palate before nodding. That was the whole thing felt very performed. The server was about to pour for everyone when I gently raised my hand, picked up the glass in front of Sarah, and said to the server, could we get a different glass? This one has not been chilled long enough. It will dull the fruit and mineral notes, especially given how delicate the body is on this wine. The server looked caught off guard, apologized, and swapped the glass. I took the new one, checked it carefully, then nodded for the pour. Zach's easy confidence was starting to crack. Sarah looked at me surprised, picked up her glass, and took a careful sip. Zach cleared his throat. Mr. Chen, you are quite particular about glassware, though the terroir character of this wine is really where it shines. It strikes a balance between the elegance of Pouligny and the richness of Chassagne. I smiled mildly. The vintage is decent. But if we are really pairing with tonight's seafood, the Court and Charlemagne from the next door estate, the 2014 would actually be a more complementary structural match. Zach's expression stiffened. He switched gears with a tight face. Sarah, I started my own landscaping company a couple years back. We handle the landscaping for major real estate projects. It is a grind, but the money is solid. He held up 2 fingers and waggled them. Ashley immediately jumped in. Oh, Zach is just being modest. It is way more than 2 million, Xingcheng Group, right? Several of their high-end developments have our landscaping all over them. She looked at Sarah with exaggerated concern. If you guys are ever looking to buy a place, just reach out to Zach. He knows all the right developers. He can definitely get you the insider lowest price. I noticed Sarah's lips tighten. Zach caught it too and waved his hand with affected generosity. Ashley, come on, Sarah. Your place has been due for an upgrade for a while now. Just say the word, I will get you the insider rate. Easily 100 grand below market. Sarah's fingers under the table were trembling. I quietly covered her hand with mine. We do not need a discounted unit. I have my own connections. Zach looked openly skeptical. This is not the time for pride. I heard you guys are a little tight right now. Saving 100 grand is real money. Why turn it down over ego? Ashley piled on. Exactly, Zach is practically on a first-name basis with half the developers in this city. One phone call and done. Use the savings for your kids' care. The place you are living in right now. I mean, we are genuinely just looking out for you guys. His eyes swept over Sarah's outfit. Sarah's face flushed red. She opened her mouth, but the hand I was holding gently pressed her back. I picked up my water glass and took a slow sip. The flame in my chest was climbing. Tonight is about celebrating my daughter's second chance at life, not watching you two run a routine. I was about to wrap this up when Mr. Chen... A pleasantly surprised voice came from behind. I turned to look, and saw Mr. Liu walking briskly over from the direction of a private room, a genuine smile on his face. I was a little surprised I had seen his photo with the owner by the entrance. Did not expect to actually run into him, Mr. Liu. Zach shot up like he was spring-loaded, knocked over his chair with a loud bang. His face instantly plastered in a groveling smile. He lunged forward with both hands out. Mr. Liu, what a small world I am. Zach from Scenic Landscapes. At your company's year-end banquet last December, I actually had the honor of toasting you. You remember me, right? He shot a smug glance our way while he talked. Mr. Liu's brow furrowed slightly. He clearly had no idea who this was, but his eyes quickly moved past Zach and settled on me. Out of politeness, Mr. Liu extended his hand and gave Zach a brief shake. His tone flat, "Oh, hey there, just one quick perfunctory shake." And Zach looked like he had just sipped aged cognac, cheeks flushed. Posture suddenly upright, but Mr. Liu practically immediately pulled his hand back and turned to me, stepped right around Zach, who was frozen in place, and reached out to me. "Mr. Chen, what timing! I have been wanting to reach out since we last met. Did not want to bother you while you were dealing with family. Running into you today is a sign." I stood and shook his hand. "Mr. Liu, good to see you." I could see Zach standing there with his eyes about to pop out of his head, frozen like he had been struck by lightning. The fawning smile he had not gotten around to putting away collided with shock, and the result was priceless. Ashley had no idea what was going on. She just saw her boyfriend getting completely ignored. While the guy who sells fruit was laughing and chatting with this clearly important man. She curled her lip and let out a comment just loud enough to hear. "Wow, these days even fruit vendors are talking real estate." That is new. As soon as those words left her mouth, the atmosphere went cold. Mr. Liu's smile dropped. His sharp eyes cut to Ashley, then back to me. His expression asking a question. I let go of his hand. Kept my voice even. "Oh, they are old acquaintances of my wife's. We ran into them here, very friendly of them. Heard we were looking to buy a place and insisted on getting us the insider discount on your development." Mr. Liu was sharp. He read the whole situation in one beat. His smile came back, but with a layer of cool smoothness underneath. He looked at me, his voice booming. "Come on, brother, what kind of talk is that?" He gave my arm a slap. "With our relationship, if you buy from me, we are not talking about discounts." He turned and looked at the stunned Zach and Ashley, his smile never wavering. But his tone carried the easy authority of someone looking down from a great height. "My guy. His wife and this little one." He looked warmly at Cassie. "Whatever development catches your eye, whatever unit you want. Just tell me." He waved his hand. "No question about it, I will give you one." Those words hit like thunder. I watched the color drain completely from Zach's face. Eyes about to fall out of his head, mouth hanging open, legs wobbling. Ashley was completely lost. She looked at Mr. Liu, then at me, then at her boyfriend, who looked like his soul had left his body. Her mouth was open, but nothing came out when Mr. Liu brought us into his private room. 3 executives already inside clearly did a double take. "Let me introduce you," Mr. Liu said with obvious enthusiasm. "Mr. Chen Zuisheng." My lucky star. The 3 executives stood and nodded, but their eyes could not hide the confusion. Lucky star, this young. And here with his wife and daughter, Mr. Liu personally poured my tea. "Brother, last time you tipped me off about Emerald Lake following your thinking and raising prices. Profits came in 30% higher. The board just decided to go all in on that area for the next 2 years. I set down my teacup and said calmly, "Mr. Liu, the subway extension is locked in, but Ninghai's focus for the next 5 years is not going east." What the 3 of them said in unison. The marketing director frowned. "Mr. Chen, what makes you say that? We did a thorough study. The land reserves over there combined with the subway access. It is clearly undervalued," the investment director added. "The municipal work report explicitly mentioned expanding the city framework eastward. The policy direction is clear." The deputy president said nothing, but his eyes were full of skepticism. Mr. Liu leaned forward, waiting for what I would say next. I met his gaze. "Everything you said is right, but you are all missing one critical variable." The room went quiet. The new mayor came from the southern new district of Linchi. That city just went through a major political shakeup last year. His first move cannot be going east. How does he build his authority? I tapped the table lightly. The eastern expansion touches too many landmines. Land transfers, demolition, compensation, construction, bidding. The water is too murky during a politically sensitive time. He will not go near it. Instead, I said with certainty, he will pick the path with the least resistance and the easiest visible wins. I pointed southwest Old City renovation, riverfront expansion. Complicated ownership history means nobody has dared to meddle with it. Existing infrastructure is already there. River views are there. A little policy support and the value jumps immediately. The east, on the other hand, I shook my head. That is a pressure cooker right now. Anyone who jumps in risks getting trapped under an anti-corruption lid for 3 to 5 years. Unable to move a muscle when I finished speaking, the room was dead silent. When I finished, the room went completely silent. I watched all three executives freeze. Mr. Liu's teacup stopped halfway to his mouth. His expression shifted from stunned to dawning realization. He suddenly recalled. A senior official at a dinner a few days ago had casually mentioned old city revitalization as a direction worth watching. I turned and caught Sarah's eyes. Hers were wide open, staring at me full of surprise. Well, Mr. Liu murmured, then suddenly set his teacup down hard. He pushed back from the table, stood up, walked around it, picked up the teapot, and personally refilled my cup. A man who only thinks about economics and ignores politics is a fool, brother. What you just taught us today is invaluable. I saw all three executives draw a sharp breath. Since when did Mr. Liu bow his head to anyone? You are too kind. I smiled, just thinking out loud. Do not hold it against me if I am wrong, just thinking out loud. Mr. Liu shook his head. Every word you said is gold. Not just gold, this is worth billions. Mr. Liu sat back down, his eyes sharp and focused. Brother, you did me a massive favor. I cannot just let that slide. I meant what I said outside. Tell me what kind of place you want, and I will give you one. Sarah squeezed my hand hard under the table. No need for that. I shook my head. I will buy it. Then pick whatever you want. I will give you the absolute lowest price. No. I smiled. I want a stall in the Wanjia wholesale market in the southeast district. And a small unit in the cozy garden complex next door. 80 to 90 square meters is fine. I watched everyone in the room freeze. The southeast development was something the company had built just to offload a remote plot. Low-end amenities, barely profitable. Brother, you are joking, right? Mr. Liu frowned. That area is way out there. Let me give you Golden Coast. Full Riverview floor plan. I shook my head again. I run a fruit business. The wholesale market, that area is right for me. Home right next door. Life is easy. Mr. Liu studied me for a few seconds, then suddenly laughed a laugh that was equal parts exasperation and admiration. Fine if you insist on buying. I cannot just let it go at that. He slapped the table. Pick whatever stall you want. Cost price 100 grand. Not a penny more. I will be furious if you pay more than that. At this rate, it might as well be a gift. I raised my cup in a toast deal. Mr. Liu, thank you. Cups clinked. I could feel Sarah's eyes on my face the whole time she looked at me, then at the three executives still processing everything. Her lips moved, but in the end she did not say a word. We arranged to meet Mr. Liu the next day to look at the unit, then headed home. Sarah stopped by the fruit stall. She was apparently thinking of turning it into a full wholesale operation at the new market. She stayed to pack things up, so I walked home carrying Cassie. Just as I stepped into the building, I was stopped by Auntie Huang walking her grandson. Oh, Cassie, look at you. Last time you were roughhousing with Xiao Bao. Did Grandma not tell you children need to behave? If you do not listen to Grandma, you will get sick. Remember that. Hearing that, my blood boiled. I know whether my own daughter behaves or not. She did not get sick because she was naughty. What a load of nonsense. I looked down at Cassie. The little girl had visibly shrunk back. Cassie, I said clearly, from now on, if anyone outside makes you feel bad, come home and tell Daddy. Daddy will take care of it. I turned to leave. Hey, hold on, she came after me. Word is Cassie's treatment cost a fortune. You guys thinking about selling the place? I stopped. Where did you hear that? Oh, word gets around. If you do decide to sell, I will buy it. We are neighbors after all. Just do not price it too high, she said while digging into her grandson's grimy pocket and pulling out a piece of candy, trying to shove it into Cassie's mouth. Here you go, sweetie. Smack. I caught her wrist and pulled the candy away. Tossed it aside. We are not selling. Stopped listening to rumors and walked upstairs. Behind me, I heard her grumbling under her breath. Pfft, big shot attitude. No wonder you stay broke. When Sarah got home and heard it was Auntie Huang, her expression dropped. That woman has always been the biggest gossip in the building. Just ignore her. We did not think much of it, but a loose tongue can stir up a storm. The following evening, I was playing with Cassie. When Sarah's phone rang, she picked up, listened for a few seconds, and her face changed. Mom, what do you mean? Sell the house, nothing like that is happening. She hung up and looked at me with a tight frown. Mom ran into Auntie Huang at the supermarket and she told her we were thinking about selling. Dad is losing it. I was about to respond. When my phone rang, it was Mr. Liu's secretary. Confirming the time to see the unit tomorrow, I hung up and noticed Sarah staring at me like she wanted to say something. What is it? Nothing, she shook her head. Then added, my dad is stubborn as a mule. If he believes what Auntie Huang said, he will definitely do something. I took her hand. The whole housing situation will be sorted out once we get the paperwork done tomorrow. She nodded, but the worry on her face did not go away. What I did not know was that at that very moment, Richard was tearing the apartment apart looking for the property deed. He found it. He clutched that dark red booklet, his eyes hard with fury. So he wants to get his hands on this place. Fine, I will give him something to go after. Helen stood beside him, eyes welling up. Richard, are you really going to do this? What if Sarah? What if she? Richard cut her off. That man has her under his spell. If Chen Zuisheng sets his sights on this place, the two of them will have nowhere to live. He shoved the deed into his chest pocket, jaw clenched. I'm going first thing tomorrow to put this property into the elderly care mortgage program once it is done. This place has nothing to do with them anymore unless Chen Zuisheng gets out. And Sarah agrees to the divorce. They are not living here. Helen opened her mouth, but said nothing. The night outside was heavy and dark. The lights in the building went out one by one. At breakfast, Sarah seemed genuinely happy. I could feel how excited she was about seeing the stall today. Cassie swung her little legs and asked Mommy, "Are we gonna have a big fruit store that is right?" Sarah's voice was bright and cheerful. Cassie can have whatever fruit she wants. Yay, the smell of congee and fried eggs filled the air. Simple and peaceful, but it did not last long. Bang, 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 urgent, heavy pounding at the door. Sarah went to open it. Richard and Helen stood outside looking furious. "Mom, Dad! What are you doing here? You came to talk about selling the house." Richard stepped straight and his eyes locked on me. "Selling the house," Sarah froze. Helen pointed at me with red eyes. "Chen Zuisheng, are you in so deep you cannot pay your debts, so now you want to sell the house? Have you no shame?" I set down my chopsticks. "Mom, Dad, you have got it wrong. I do not owe anyone, and we are not selling anything." "You shut your mouth," Richard snapped, cutting me off. "Has a single word out of you ever been true?" He turned to Sarah, his voice rising. "Sarah, this marriage needs to end." Right now, he is $2 million in the hole. "About to sell the roof over your heads and you still will not leave. You want Cassie living on the streets." Sarah got agitated. "Mom, Dad, you have got everything wrong. None of this is true. Who told you this does not matter?" Helen wiped her tears. "The whole neighborhood is talking." "Sarah, sweetheart, just leave him. Come back home, we will cover the medical bills. We will take care of you." Sarah's voice had an edge to it now. "We know how we are doing, and we do not need your help." "You know nothing," Richard exploded. "You are completely blind right now. I need a straight answer from you today." He stared Sarah down one word at a time. "Are you filing for divorce or not?" Sarah's lips pressed together without a word. "No." Her chest heaved. "In that case, I am taking the property. Whether you sink or swim, that is no longer the Shu family's problem. As far as I am concerned, I have no daughter." Those last words drove into Sarah like a spike. I watched her sway. Her face went pale. Tears rushed to her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She looked at her father's twisted expression, her mother crying and unable to meet her eyes. Then she wiped her face. Her voice trembled, but every word was clear. "Fine, if you want to cut ties, then fine, we will move out today." Richard's eyes went wide like he was seeing his daughter for the first time. "All right." "You have got nerve," he was shaking with fury. "I am coming for the property tomorrow." He grabbed Helen and turned to leave. Helen stumbled and looked back over her shoulder. "Sarah, how did you get like this? Your father is doing this for you." Sarah called after them. "He was the one who said cut ties. He was the one who said take the house." I agreed. "So am I not being a good daughter?" "You have completely lost yourself following that Chen man." Helen snapped back. "Throwing away your own parents as far as I am concerned. I never had a daughter." The door slammed shut a few seconds later. Sarah fell into my arms and the sobs she had been holding back came pouring out. How could they say something like that? She was shaking all over. I held her and gently rubbed her back. Cassie wrapped her arms around her mother's legs and cried softly. "Mommy, do not cry." When Sarah finally calmed down, I wiped her tears and looked into her red, swollen eyes. Then I looked around at the cramped, worn-out apartment. Staying here is no way to live. It is time we had a real home of our own. But she looked up at me. "Do not worry about the money." I held her hand. "Let us go check out the stall." She nodded, went to the bedroom and came out in a light blue dress. I recognized it as the nicest thing she had bought since we got married. She never wore it unless the occasion called for it. Watching her hold up that old dress, something in me ached. There was still over $3 million in the account. It was past time to get her and Cassie something decent. "Let's go." Sarah had changed into the dress and gave me a smile. Off to see our big venture, we headed downstairs. The moment we reached the street, there were 2 quick honks. We turned and a black Mercedes window rolled down, revealing Mr. Liu's grinning face. "Brother, sis, hop in." I was genuinely surprised. This guy did not even bring a driver. He came himself. The car headed toward the southeast district, and along the way, Mr. Liu chatted. "Brother, the Wanjia market was built just to offload some leftover land. It is out of the way. Not quite new town, not quite old town either." He turned onto a slightly run-down road. "This area is a relocation zone. A lot of people were displaced from the old districts and settled here. Wide roads, newer buildings, but amenities have not caught up. No subway access yet." I looked out the window and said, "People move somewhere, they have to live. And where there is living, there is demand." I knew exactly what I was looking at because of the relocation population. This area was going to become one of the most quietly powerful grassroots economic hubs in Ninghai over the next few years, and the Wanjia market, as the earliest and largest wholesale complex in the area, was going to act like a giant magnet. The stalls looked unremarkable now, but they would be impossible to come by before long. Not enough to support 3 generations maybe, but our family of 3 would live very comfortably for life. Easily the car pulled up outside the market. Sarah looked at the empty parking lot and quiet entrance and frowned quietly. "Zuisheng, are you sure about this?" Mr. Liu said sincerely. "Brother, I have a few small units on Binjiang Road, waterfront strip. Prime location, I can sort one out for you." I shook my head. "Binjiang Road does not fit what we do. This is the right spot. Do not let the quiet fool you. This place is going to blow up." Mr. Liu smiled, but his eyes held a question. I casually dropped a line. "Mr. Liu, whatever Wanjia shares you are holding, do not rush to sell. If any small shareholders want out, just buy them up. Down the line, this whole southeast pocket is going to be anchored right here, this market. Is a gold mine every square foot. Mr. Liu's eyes sharpened. Brother, you are serious about this. I met his gaze. Whether it is real is up to you to decide. Mr. Liu went quiet and looked around the empty market perimeter. Lost in thought, let us go take a look inside. He snapped back to his easygoing self and let us in. The property manager jogged over when he saw Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu, show us the empty units. Especially the best spots. The manager led us eagerly. Straight to the prime real estate near the main entrance. Mr. Liu, Mr. Chen, take a look at this one. He pointed to a unit about 50% larger than the others. This is one of the biggest units in the market. Location does not get better than this. Great square footage, excellent visibility. Whatever you run out of here looks impressive. The unit itself was solid. Bright and open. Mr. Liu looked over at me. Brother, does this work for you? Cassie's eyes lit up a little. Wait for my call. I shook my head. Not this one.
Huh?
The manager looked thrown off. Brother, this is the best spot in the place. I shook my head and looked toward the back of the market. Let us go check out the side entrance area, the side entrance. The manager was puzzled. Foot traffic is much lighter over there. It is out of the way, just take us. We reached the northwest side entrance near the freight lane, and parking lot edge. Foot traffic was thin. Most of the units by the side door were vacant glass coated in dust. My eyes landed on one unremarkable stall. It was not directly facing the side entrance, set slightly back with a load-bearing column right beside it. Without hesitation, I pointed to it. Sarah could not help herself. She looked at the dead, quiet surroundings, then at the unit half hidden behind the column. Completely baffled, Mr. Liu frowned too. Brother, this spot is way too far back. The lighting takes a hit. That column blocks the sightline. Let us keep looking. No need, I said firmly. This is the one. But why this one? Sarah whispered. I lowered my voice because the feng shui here is excellent feng shui. I pointed at the load-bearing column. You see this pillar? In feng shui, it represents a strong backing, solid foundation, and the unit being set back creates what they call a gathering of energy. Wealth flows in and does not scatter. I pointed toward the freight lane outside the side door. All that movement out there balances perfectly with the stillness in here. Sarah looked at me completely dazed. Mr. Liu could not decide whether to laugh or argue, but he stopped trying. Fine, if this is what you want. He told the manager, get the contract ready for this one. He did not even bother going back to the office. He had the manager bring the paperwork to the Mercedes. Right there in the car, Sarah and I signed the lease. 30-year term, renewable, total rent, $100,000. Basically being handed it for free, Sarah held the contract and broke into the most relaxed smile she had worn all day. Zuisheng, where to now? Now that the stall is sorted, let us look at apartments nearby. If something fits, we will buy a place. Sarah's eyes lit up again. Yes, let us buy a place. Mr. Liu jumped in. So brother wants to buy around here, all right then. Moonview Terrace and Southeast Pearl nearby are both developed by us or our partners. Pick whichever one you want and I will get you the lowest price. I shook my head. None of those. Let us just go look at Cozy Garden. Mr. Liu paused. That development is from a few years back. All the original buyback units have been cleared and transferred. Those are all resale listings now. I understood what he meant. New builds he could work with. Resale prices were harder for him to influence. I smiled. I get it. New construction is not a priority. The right location is what matters. Mr. Liu made one call and in under 15 minutes, a white van pulled up. The door swung open. Out stepped a man in his 40s with a slight belly. Mr. Liu, you came out yourself. He jogged over with both hands already extended, then turned to us. The name is Joe. Joe Fulai Properties. Whatever Mr. Liu needs, consider it done. Mr. Liu gave a relaxed nod. Fuli, this is Mr. Chen, my guy. He wants to look at units in Cozy Garden. Got anything good? Absolutely, of course we do. Joe Fulai patted his chest. Since Mr. Liu says so. Commission is waived. Consider us friends. 4 units available at Cozy Garden. We walked through them all. 3 were fairly unremarkable. Then came the last one, top floor. The door swung open and sunlight flooded in. Bare concrete floors, white plaster walls, clean and bright. Sarah walked to the far end of the living room and let out a surprised, oh, there is a rooftop terrace. Over 60 square meters. Joe Fulai stepped up to explain. Mrs. Chen, technically this terrace is common area, but with this layout being the only unit on the top floor, no one else can get up here if you put up a door. It is essentially your own private garden. Sarah said nothing. She just stood in the sunlight looking out at that open space. I walked over. If we enclose this area, put a trellis over there for climbing roses and a planter box here. Fill it with hydrangeas and garden roses. Put a wicker table in the southeast corner. 2 chairs on summer evenings. We could have tea out here. Eat watermelon and watch the stars. Sarah turned and looked at me without a word. Her eyes quietly going red. The unit is 120 square meters. Add the usable terrace space and you are looking at 180. I looked at her. Sarah, do you like it? She did not answer right away. She just turned back and stood there looking for a long time, then gave one quiet nod. Mr. Liu jumped right in. Brother, this one is done. As for the renovation, leave it to me. He waved his hand. We developed this block, so we have all the plans. I will get someone to enclose the terrace. Cut a door through from the living room, put in a spiral staircase outside. Glass roof over the top. We have got the materials in the warehouse. This is practically built already. Perfect timing for you. Sarah asked how much would all that cost. Mr. Liu laughed. Sis, do not even mention money to me. This little renovation is nothing. He just assumed I was trying to schmooze him. I did not bother correcting that. All right, thanks, Mr. Liu Zhou. Fulai was about to wrap up the deal. Mr. Zhou. I turned to him. I will take all 4 units. Excuse me, Zhou. Fulai froze. Sarah spun around and stared at me in disbelief. Mr. Liu was surprised too, brother. You need more square footage. I have a small 300 square meter villa over at Moonview Terrace. Just take it, no need. I smiled and waved him off. Mr. Liu, I genuinely like this location. I looked out the window close to the Wanjiao market. Walking distance right next to a kindergarten. Easy for Cassie to get to school and for Sarah to keep an eye on the business. Sarah tugged my sleeve and lowered her voice. We do not need all 4, though we still have over 3 million in the account. But, I squeezed her hand back. Trust me, it will be worth it. She opened her mouth but held back her worry. I turned to Zhou Fulai. Mr. Zhou, go ahead and draw up contracts for all 4. All 4 units cash came out to just over 2 million left, about 1 million in the account. More than enough to launch the stall and cover operating costs. The contract went smoothly. The move went even smoother. Mr. Liu made one call. A pickup truck showed up in 30 minutes. 3 guys cleared everything out before noon. The top floor unit needed renovating, so we moved into the 5th floor unit to tide us over. The previous owner had barely lived there. A quick sweep. New curtains up and it was bright and clean. Sarah placed her pothos on the windowsill where she had been growing it for years. Cassie kicked off her shoes and ran all over the new floors, darting from room to room. Like a puppy let off the leash, Mommy. Is this room mine? Daddy, are we going to live here from now on? Sarah sat down on the sofa Mr. Liu had sent over. Supposedly a warehouse floor sample, but it was brand new. Plastic wrap still on it. She looked around. Watching Cassie zoom around the room, her expression a little dazed. Yesterday, she was still crammed into that dark, damp old place that morning she had been fighting with her parents. Now she was sitting in a bright, spacious new home with a commercial unit in her name. And 4 properties with both our names on the deed. The top floor unit with the terrace. Was still waiting for us to turn it into a rooftop garden. It all happened so fast it felt like a dream. Sunlight poured through the window and in her glistening eyes. It scattered into tiny flecks of light, seeing the emotion on my wife's face. I knew in that moment every penny of that 2 million was well spent. 2 million 4 units, I knew exactly how much that money was worth in a little over a year. Ninghai's education landscape was going to get completely turned upside down. A retired senior official originally from Ninghai was about to step down from a major post the man had been reserved his entire life. But just this once he made a personal request. He wanted to leave a school on the land where he was born, not a namesake, not a donation. He wanted to bring Beijing's finest education brand, North China affiliated primary school, into Ninghai for real. And the site chosen for the branch campus was the empty lot right next to Cozy Garden. When North China affiliated primary school Ninghai branch opened enrollment, the whole city went into a frenzy, and the school district boundary line happened to wrap around the entire Cozy Garden complex. Overnight, the relocation community that everyone had looked down on became the hottest premium school district in all of Ninghai. Property prices shot up like a rocket. The old residents who had been resettled there after their homes were demolished found themselves sitting on a windfall without even trying. Some sold 1 unit and had enough for their son's down payment in Shanghai. Some cashed out the home they had lived in for decades. And the old couple traveled the world for 2 years. All of Ninghai was talking about Cozy Garden. Envy, jealousy, regret, rage, every emotion in the book. And I was sitting on 4 units once prices hit the ceiling. I would sell 3 and keep 1 for ourselves. At that point, forget about living comfortably for a lifetime. Sarah could lie down and do absolutely nothing from this day forward and still live like a queen. Of course, if I wanted to make even more with the information and capital I had, I could sweep up units in several other nearby developments too, but there was no point. Getting a second chance at life had slowly taught me one thing: you can never earn enough money. In my past life, I spent everything I had building from nothing to $100 billion fortune. And what did I have to show for it this time around? Enough is enough. My daughter's smile, my wife's eyes. The peaceful moments of sitting down to a meal together as a family, those are what I actually care about. Jake sat in his car for nearly 20 minutes, phone burning in his grip. He finally started the engine. Their father had been screaming on the phone. If he really did not show up, the family might never recover from this. The car wound through several turns and stopped in front of the familiar building. He took a long breath and headed upstairs to knock. No answer. He knocked again, still nothing. He jogged back downstairs to the fruit stall at the corner of the alley. The stand was empty and spotless. Even the old scale was gone. The vegetable lady next door poked her head out and recognized him. "Oh, Jake, you looking for your sister?" "Yeah, where is she?" "They moved out around noon today." The lady said loudly. A big truck came. A few young guys bang 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 and the whole place was cleared out in no time. I was kind of surprised myself. They lived here for 10-some years. And just up and left like that. Jake felt the ground shift under him. "Moved? Where did they go? No idea." The lady shook her head. "Your sister did not tell you." Jake did not answer. He just stood in front of the empty stall gripping his phone. Not moving for a long time. I only pieced all this together later. From the scattered fragments Sarah let slip when she picked up that call that night, her phone rang. She answered, listened for a few seconds, and her expression changed. She did not say a word, just handed the phone to me. I took it, and heard Richard's voice on the other end. Loud and full of self-righteous conviction. Chen Zuisheng, you listen up. That apartment was allocated by my work unit. The title is in my name, and I have already put it into the elderly care mortgage program. I am going to finalize the paperwork tomorrow unless you divorce Sarah. You two are not setting foot in that place. I held the phone. Let 2 seconds pass, then said, Dad, we already moved out. There was a 2-second silence on the other end. Moved out? That is right. We left at noon. The place is all yours. Come take it whenever you want. Another stretch of silence. Then the line went dead. I handed the phone back to Sarah. She looked at me, eyes red, but no tears. Her voice wobbled a little. They really put the house in that program. Yeah, she lowered her head and held her phone. Not moving for a long moment, then she looked up at me and managed a small smile, whatever. We are not going back anyway. I nodded and pulled her close. The fruit wholesale store at Wanja finished its renovation and opened for business. The first month was slow. Sometimes Sarah would look at the quiet shop floor and a flicker of worry would cross her face. I was not worried. There was still money in the account. The unit was ours, no rent to pay. The top floor was still being renovated. Life moves one day at a time. You live it. You do not race through it 1 month later. Mr. Liu called to say the renovation was done. We went over to take a look. The moment we opened the door, Sarah stopped dead in her tracks. The entire wall between the living room and the terrace had been opened up. Mr. Liu had actually installed a full floor-to-ceiling glass folding door right now. Every panel was pushed wide open. Sunlight poured in from the terrace and the whole room was drenched in gold. The terrace had been completely transformed. The concrete was now decking. A planter box had been built in the corner filled with climbing roses and blue plumbago. The trellis was already up. The vines had not fully climbed it yet, but little green tendrils were already working their way up. In the southeast corner was a round rattan table. 2 chairs, and someone had even set a ceramic vase on the table. With a few hydrangeas in it, a glass roof covered half the terrace, letting in full light. But keeping out the rain, Sarah walked in slowly and stood there for a long time. Then she covered her mouth and her eyes went red. Cassie came in at full volume. The little girl had been downstairs with Mr. Liu's assistant looking at the newly planted apple tree when she turned around and both parents had vanished. She pumped her little legs and bolted upstairs when the door opened. She stopped then. Wow. She sprinted into the living room and spun around, then charged onto the terrace and spun around again. Apple tree, trellis, round table, glass roof, every single thing got its own wow. Mommy, this place is so pretty. I watched the two of them. And in that moment, every billion-dollar contract, every acquisition, every flashbulb moment from my past life was not worth a fraction of this. And good things tend to come in waves. 2 months later, the fruit wholesale store that had been ticking along quietly suddenly blew up. It started with Sarah going viral. That was my idea. I told her, Sarah, you are in and out of the store every single day, all fresh content. Why not try a live stream? You do not need to be salesy about it. Just prop up a phone and film yourself doing what you always do. Selling fruit, stacking inventory, chatting with customers. Sarah looked at me blankly. Live stream? I do not know how to do any of that. You do not need to know anything. I said just be yourself. I got her a couple of outfits, nothing flashy or over the top. Just a linen button-down shirt and a plain apron. Hair in a quick ponytail, clean and fresh. No crazy filters on the lighting either. Just one warm fill light aimed at the fruit display. The background was the stall itself. Wooden shelves stacked neatly with in-season produce. Handwritten price tags slightly crooked. Written by Cassie, the first week averaged maybe 3 to 5 viewers at a time. Sarah did not sweat it when nobody was talking. She would just keep stocking shelves and occasionally look up at the camera and say something. Strawberries are really good today. Blueberries just came in the 2nd week. One night she was scrolling her phone and came across a story about a blueberry farm in a neighboring province with unsold inventory, farmers sitting by their fields looking defeated. Sarah watched it several times, and the next morning she called her supplier and bought 500 pounds straight out. She did not make a thing of it. Just put the blueberries on the shelf during the next stream and casually said, these are really good, and the farmers who grew them are having a tough time. If we can help a little, why not that night? Hundreds of people flooded into the stream. The comment section went flying. She is so pretty. Wait, did she actually buy from the farmers? Already ordered support. Honest sellers. Sarah was completely blindsided. She scrambled to reply to comments, her face bright red. The next day, the platform started pushing her content. The farmer support tag went up, and the traffic floodgates opened. The 3rd day, orders started coming in. Not one at a time, but in pages, the thermal printer churning out receipts. From morning to night without stopping. Not just online, the physical store was slammed. Tuwanja Market had started roadwork out front. Municipal underground pipe renovation. The estimated timeline posted on site was 8 months with the main entrance blocked off. All the foot traffic that used to head for the main street units poured toward the north side entrance. And the north side entrance was exactly where Sarah and I had our store delivery trucks lined up, one after another in a row outside our door. Unloading at the front, loading up at the back. Mangoes barely hit the shelf before wholesalers were walking up with order sheets. Boss, golden mangoes, give me 5 cases, and the Shine Muscat grapes, you still got some. 10 cases of cherries, can you do better on price? I am buying a lot just one day in. Sarah and I were both running on fumes, forget eating and drinking. We were stealing seconds wherever we could find them. That night, Sarah collapsed on the couch. Too exhausted to even push her hair out of her face the next day, I had Mr. Liu help me hire 5 extra people, and that finally let us breathe a little. Brother, I got your people sorted on the phone. Mr. Liu's voice was booming. I wiped my hands and tucked the phone between my ear and shoulder. Mr. Liu, you are the best. Doing things for you is a pleasure. He paused, then started running through the list. 1 truck driver ex-military, 8 years on the road, Class A CDL 0 accidents, and 2 young women, one studied e-commerce, worked at an MCN agency, knows the ins and outs of live streaming traffic, the other studied media, great on camera, sweet talker, can run the hype in the stream. He dropped his voice, brother. I have got to hand it to you. How did you know they were going to do road work at the main entrance? Was it actually the feng shui? I smiled, Mr. Liu. You are in real estate, you tell me. Does feng shui work or not? A half second of silence on the line. Then a big hearty laugh. Fair enough, fair enough. Some things you just have to believe in, brother. That eye of yours, I truly respect it. I did not go into detail about the road work. Yes, I knew it was coming. The underground pipe project was something I had known about in advance in my past life. Wanjia Market went through the exact same thing. The north entrance became the main access point, and the corner that had been the quietest got trampled into prime real estate by foot traffic and delivery trucks back then. A feng shui master even showed up and pointed at the column by the north entrance. Said it was a dragon pillar commanding the flow and the units beside it were sheltered and wealth gathering. The whole story went around town. That geographic advantage was now mine. But even I had not fully expected how big Sarah's dream would blow up. A natural-looking woman helping farmers sell their harvest, boosting local consumption, rural revitalization. Sarah hit every label the platforms were hungry to push, and the traffic came pouring in like a dam had burst. Sometimes in a rare quiet moment, she would sit by the shelves and stare. Zuisheng. I ran the numbers again last month online, and in store combined came to 1.37 million. Profit 210,000. Her expression was somewhere else. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and just stare at the ceiling wondering if this is a dream. Like when I open my eyes, we will still be back in that old place and Cassie will be sleeping by the wall. And you still have not come home? She did not finish the thought. I took her hand. It is not a dream. And even if it were, it is a dream we built ourselves. She looked up, her eyes going a little red. I needed to redirect my wife's attention, Sarah. Yeah, the most important thing for us right now is not making more money. She turned to look at me. I said Cassie has her follow-up appointment next month, and her preschool has started giving homework. Sarah was quiet for a few seconds. You are saying I am not spending enough time with her. I am saying we are not short on money anymore. I looked her in the eyes. What we are short on is time with her while she is growing up. She took a slow, deep breath, I know. But I cannot seem to stop. Sometimes I feel like if I slow down, it will all disappear. It will not, I said with a smile. But then she suddenly frowned and said seriously, Cassie starts first grade next year and the public school closest to us is really not great. The good ones in the city either require you to be in the right zone or you pay a transfer fee. The school district apartments in the city center, those tiny, outdated places are going for 45,000 per square meter. A 50 to 60 square meter unit starts at 3 million. She was picking up speed. Like something was pushing her forward. No, I need to earn more. Watching her, I could not help but laugh. Sarah, relax. Our daughter is a lucky kid. Good things come to those who wait. She looked at me puzzled. Not quite following, I did not rush to explain. The North China affiliated primary school news could not be mentioned. Yet the timing was not right. But when that announcement dropped, half of Ninghai was going to lose its mind. The fruit wholesale business kept snowballing, getting bigger every month. We got the company registered. I came up with the name Dream Life Produce. When Sarah saw those two characters side by side on the business license, the corner of her mouth curled up. Official now, I suggested she pay the staff a little better. She nodded and bumped everyone up a notch, and the store ran a lot smoother. The two of us finally did not have to be on the floor every single day, especially the stream. The girls picked things up fast. Sarah only showed up at set times. But every time she went live, the comments exploded. Somewhere along the way, she picked up the nickname Fruit Queen, and it just stuck. One afternoon, Sarah's phone rang. She hung up and told me, the management office at the old market called. They want me to come pick up my deposit refund. How much I laughed. That is nothing we make. That in half a day now still does not mean I should just let them keep it. She gave me a look and was already putting on her shoes. 20 minutes later, Sarah stood at the entrance of that familiar alley. The old beat-up fruit stand had a new owner and a bright new sign. She stared for a few seconds, then shook her head, turned and headed to the management office. This is all what she told me when she got back. When Director Joe saw her walk into the office, she was like a completely different person, all warm smiles after finishing the paperwork. Director Joe kept her chatting and asked where they were living now. Sarah said casually, right next to Wanjia Market. Cozy Garden. Director. Joe's eyes went wide. Cozy Garden, you live at Cozy Garden. Sarah was confused. What is the big deal? Director Joe did not answer. She spun around, dug out a document, and slapped it on the table. It was an official notice of photocopy. The title was long, but Sarah's eyes jumped straight to the keywords. North China Affiliated Primary School, Ninghai Branch Site Selection School District Boundaries. Then her eyes moved down to the line that read, Cozy Garden included in the school's enrollment zone. In smaller print below the release date was 3 days ago. Wait, what? Sarah could not process it. Director Zhou kept rattling on your whole neighborhood is now a school district. North China Affiliated Primary School. It is from Beijing. The best school district in all of Ninghai. Nobody used to give those Cozy Garden units a second look. Now you want to guess how much per square meter? Sarah opened her mouth but no sound came out. 130,000. Director Zhou held up 2 fingers. 130,000 and people still cannot get in. She assumed Sarah was renting and shook her head in sympathy. Oh man, if only you had bought a unit there earlier. Renting just means you are paying down someone else's mortgage, and that landlord is sitting on a gold mine now. Think about it, 130,000 per square meter. Even a 100 square meter place is over 10 million. Sarah just stood there over 10 million. Cozy Garden, 130,000 per square meter. The complex where she had 4 units in her name, 4 of them she told me later. Her legs gave out, she slowly lowered herself into a chair holding the edge of the table. Director Zhou got alarmed. Hey, you okay? You just went completely white, are you feeling alright? Sarah shook her head and opened her mouth. Her voice barely above a whisper, Ms. Zhou, the price at Cozy Garden. How much did you say again, 130? Why, Sarah did not answer. She just sat there frozen, staring at the document on the table without moving. Then she called me. My phone buzzed while I was going over the inventory sheets at the store. The screen said honey I picked up and there was silence on the other end. Zuisheng Cozy Garden. It is at 1:30 now. I paused. North China Affiliated Primary School branch is going in right next door. It got drawn into the school district, 130,000 per square meter. I leaned back against the shelves, honestly a little surprised. In my past life, this news broke a year later. This time it came almost a full year early. Sarah, come back and we will go check with the realtor. Okay, she said, then paused. When you bought those 4 units, did you already know something? I laughed. Come on, how would I know that? If I had known in advance, I would have borrowed money and bought up the whole complex. Why would I be running a fruit store? There was a short silence. Then a quiet and she hung up. She hurried back, but someone else got here first. A black Mercedes pulled up in front of the store and Mr. Liu strode in. Brother, you heard about the Cozy Garden School District thing, right? I put down my clipboard. Just found out I was traveling landed and came straight here. He walked up close and dropped his voice. Brother, be straight with me. Did you know about this policy in advance? I smiled easy and slow. Mr. Liu, if I could have seen the school district thing coming, why would I be in the fruit business? Mr. Liu stared at me for several seconds, then let out a short laugh. Brother, I have met plenty of lucky people, but nobody runs as accurate as you. I smiled and let it go. When Sarah got back, her face was still flushed. The 3 of us headed straight to Fulai Properties, and when we got there, something felt off. A massive crowd was packed outside the front door, practically pushing it off the hinges. Inside was just as packed, any units left at Cozy Garden. Any floor, any layout, I am paying cash. Joe Fulai squeezed his way out, forehead drenched in sweat. He spotted me and his face lit up. He pushed toward me. Mr. Chen, you are here? The customers nearby all stared. Why is this guy acting like he just saw his long-lost father? I smiled. Business is booming, huh, Mr. Zhou? All thanks to you, Joe Fulai bowed and nodded, and ushered us into a small private meeting room. Mr. Chen, are you here to sell? Joe Fulai's eyes lit up. Cozy Garden units. Yeah, which ones? Sarah pressed her lips together. The 5th floor unit. And the 3rd floor unit, we are keeping the top floor for ourselves. The other one we will hold on to. And see, Joe Fulai nodded repeatedly and started doing the math pen, scratching numbers across the page. He slid the paper over to me. Mr. Chen, the 5th floor unit is 98 square meters. Conservative estimate, 12.5 million. The 3rd floor unit is 95 square meters. Around 12.3 million combined, 24.8 million. I saw Sarah's fingers tremble ever so slightly. I nodded. Go ahead, list them at that price. Joe Fulai kept nodding, then remembered something. Mr. Chen, the commission, I laughed. Mr. Zhou, you cannot waive it this time, can you? Joe Fulai paused. A complicated expression crossed his face. Mr. Chen, last time you said let me earn back my commission next time. I thought that was just polite talk and did not think much of it. But here you are. You actually came back. He looked at me with this burning intensity. Mr. Liu shot a glance over. Sarah turned and looked at me too. I smiled and put my arm around Sarah's shoulder. Nothing to do with me, that is my wife. She is too kind and forgot. Sarah's face went red and she gave me a light smack. My phone buzzed. 24.8 million had hit the account. I glanced at it and slipped the phone back in my pocket. Sarah kept staring at her screen, reading that number over and over. She even counted the digits with her finger before finally looking up. Zuisheng, yeah, I am a multimillionaire now. I nodded, yep. But I do not feel any different, she frowned. Looking genuinely puzzled, the numbers are in my phone. The apartments are still right there. The store is still just as busy. How am I suddenly a multimillionaire? Mr. Liu burst out laughing. Sis, you have got to start living like one. That is how it feels real. Brother, take my advice, upgrade the house, big villa. We just launched a new batch of detached homes over at Jade Lake. Great setting, private courtyard, garage, the whole deal. I will set one aside for you, the best one, my way of saying thanks. He meant every word and I knew exactly what he was thinking. Once the Cozy Garden School District News dropped the properties and Wanjia's shares, he had been sitting on shot up even more than mine. This one move made him more than developing 2 whole residential projects. He wanted to keep me close even more now. But I shook my head. I appreciate it, Mr. Liu, but we are not moving. Sarah nodded firmly beside me. That is right. I have not even had enough time in our rooftop sunroom. The roses on the terrace just bloomed. I go out every morning to check on them. Moving away would break my heart. The way she said it had this girlish softness to it, like she was talking about something precious. Looking at her made me even more sure about my decision. In my past life, I lived in every kind of mansion you can imagine, big empty houses. Walking around alone, the echo louder than your own footsteps. Right now, the 3 of us crammed into our cozy top floor, sipping tea under a glass sky, watching the stars. Beat any luxury home hands down. When Mr. Liu saw we were both shaking our heads. He did not push, he immediately pivoted to a new idea. Fine, keep the house, then what about a car? A car? Yeah, with the business you are running now, you have got to have a car for when clients come around. You cannot pick people up in a delivery truck, he paused. Then added, sis, you are the fruit queen now. Your fans are not going to accept you riding the bus. That last line made Sarah laugh. She glanced at me. I could see her softening. I thought about it and nodded. All right, there is a car show next week. Let us go check it out. Half an hour later. We got back to Wanja. The car had barely stopped. And I could already tell something was wrong. A crowd had gathered outside the store. Not customers, just people rubbernecking. A few men were blocking the entrance, arms crossed, cigarettes dangling. The whole vibe through the smoke said these guys were not here for fruit. I felt my stomach drop. I pushed the car door open and walked over fast. Pushed through the crowd and took in the scene inside. The live stream rig was knocked over, phone screen shattered. The fruit bins that had been perfectly stacked were overturned, tangerines rolling all over the floor. The girls were huddled in the corner, faces drained of color. In the spot where Sarah usually did her streams, sat a middle-aged man, buzz-cut, thick gold chain around his neck. Legs crossed one over the other, rolling 2 walnuts in his hand. He looked me up and down without standing. You the owner? I scanned the room and said calmly, what can I do for you? The man clicked his tongue, set the walnuts on the table and introduced himself. Name is Yang, east side of the city. I run a business services company, looking to expand, and I like the look of your spot here. He stood up, walked over and looked me up and down. Good location right by the north entrance. Plus, the live stream business must be doing pretty well. I did not bite. He kept going. I will give you 50 grand. You take the money, find another spot and start fresh. I want this unit. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. Do me a solid and clear out today. I looked down at where he had touched, then back up at him. Yang right, this unit is not for sale. He fixed his eyes on me, brother. I do not think you heard me. I said do me a solid. That is what I am asking. I gave him a cold smile. Just then the car door opened behind me. Mr. Liu strode in. Who the hell is causing trouble here? Yang turned, his eyes narrowed, then a wide grin spread across his face. Well, Mr. Liu, what brings you here? This little place is under your umbrella. Mr. Liu stepped up beside me and let out a cold laugh. Every inch of Wanjia Market. This whole area was developed by me. I decide who gets my units. He stepped forward. Who the hell do you think you are? Coming onto my turf playing gangster. Yang's expression cycled through a few emotions. Jaw tight, he finally swallowed it. Mr. Liu, come on, I am just here to do business. Keep it friendly, right business. Mr. Liu pointed at the live stream rig on the floor and the fruit scattered everywhere. This is how you do business. Yang gave a dry laugh and said nothing. He turned and looked at me, eyes cold and flat. Fine. Brother, since Mr. Liu is here, I will let this go today. He headed to the door, then turned back one more time. But you better think hard about whether someone can really watch your back forever. He waved and his guys melted into the crowd. The store went quiet. The girls could not hold it together anymore and started crying. Sarah rushed in from outside and threw her arms around me. You okay? I am fine, I patted her back and looked toward the door. Mr. Liu said, brother, this young guy specifically targets businesses that are doing well. He keeps a crew of thugs around. He backed off today out of respect for me, but he is not going to drop this. Watch yourself going forward, Mr. Liu. Thanks for today. I did not say much else. I just crouched down and picked up the tangerines one by one, putting them back in the bin. The next day, the police called me out of nowhere. Is this Chen Zusheng your driver? Sun Jian got into a fight. He is at the hospital. I froze a fight. Yes, old son, come down to the hospital. Sarah and I rushed over and found the room. We pushed open the door and saw old son lying in the hospital bed, head wrapped in gauze, eyes swollen black and blue, barely open to a slit. A woman sat in the chair beside the bed, red-eyed, probably his wife. 2 officers stood by the window, one taking notes, the other standing with arms crossed watching the door. When old son saw us, he struggled to sit up. I crossed the room in a few strides and pressed him back down. Easy, what happened? Old son opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His wife beside him started crying again, her voice breaking. Mr. Chen, my husband never looks for trouble. He is a straight shooter, I know. I looked at old son and told him to take it slow. He caught his breath and started talking. Early that morning, he had loaded up a full haul of dragon fruit and pulled out of the market gate, when a group of guys suddenly rushed out from the side of the road, bats and rocks in hand. No words, just straight to swinging. Someone climbed into the truck bed and started hurling the dragon fruit cases off one by one, smashing them on the ground. Old son is ex-military. He jumped out and took down 2 of them, but there were too many. Even he could not handle 7 or 8 guys coming at him at once. He took a hit to the back of the head, and as he was going down, he saw them smashing the windows and slashing the tires. Next thing he knew, he was in the hospital. Old son finished talking, jaw-clenched, cheeks bulging with barely contained fury. I walked out of the room with the 2 officers. I handed one of them a cigarette. The older one took it, stuck it in his mouth, but did not light it. Your guy, the driver, ex-military, never causes problems. He nodded. Yeah. Those guys cleared out fast by the time we got there. All that was left was a pile of smashed fruit. The plates were obscured. The cameras caught a few backs of heads. No faces, so what happens now? Report is filed, case is open. He glanced at me, but you know how it is. These kinds of cases, unless there is a big organized crackdown, they are tough to move on. I got the picture. I headed back to the room. Sarah was just coming out. She had given old son's wife some cash. Told old son to rest and not worry about the store losses meant nothing. Come back when you are healed and your pay keeps coming in the meantime. Old son's wife chased after her and grabbed her hand. Too grateful to speak. We walked out of the hospital. Sarah asked me what did the cops say. I told her case is open, but hard to make any arrests. She frowned. So what do we do? Should we ask Mr. Liu for help? I shook my head. We do not need him. There is a right way and a wrong way to handle this. Trust me. I will take care of it. I called Gu Weidong the next afternoon. A black van pulled up outside the store. The driver got out and opened the door. Extremely respectful. Sarah watched from a distance, looking uneasy. I did not explain. I just got in. The car wound through several turns and stopped at the entrance of an old alley, deep and narrow. Old residential buildings on both sides, paint peeling off the walls. At the very end was a noodle shop with a tiny worn-out sign. The lettering had faded. I pushed the door open. 5 or 6 tables inside, only one person sitting at the back. Gu Weidong was bent over a bowl of noodles when he saw me coming. He tapped the stool beside him. Sit down. You eating? I glanced at his bowl. Dark murky broth noodles, uneven thickness. Passy looked up at me. Straight shooter, huh? It does not taste good. Why would I eat it? He paused, then laughed. Chen Zusheng, I cannot tell if you are confident or just full of yourself. He put down his chopsticks. But you are right, it really does not taste good. But back in the day, this stuff saved my life. I listened quietly. Rough times. My parents were locked up over overseas family connections. My sister and I had nobody, nearly starved. An old neighbor on our block used to sneak us a bowl of this every day. She pushed the noodles around with her chopsticks. Buckwheat mixed with elm bark powder. Terrible taste, but it filled you up. After I made something of myself, I went looking for that neighbor. She was already gone. He paused, but I still come eat a bowl every now and then. To remind myself where I crawled out from, I looked at the bowl, sat with it for a few seconds, then said, Gu, this might be hard to hear. Eating well is the best way to honor the past. He looked up. Eating scraps every day and calling it staying humble? I shook my head. That is just performing for yourself. Real gratitude means eating the best food, wearing the best clothes, living the best life. So the kid who almost starved to death back then can see we made it. We are living better than anyone. Gu Weidong stared at me for a long moment. Fair point. He wiped his mouth. Composure, back down to business. That young guy is just a small fish, but behind him is a man called Lai from Chengjiang Company. Lai ran with a rough crowd back in the day and eventually cleaned up his act and got into the district political consultative council. Gu Weidong's tone was dismissive. I said, so he is out of the game. Still acting like this, he does not have a choice. Gu Weidong leaned back. He is somebody else's blade. It is not that he wants to cause trouble, it is that if he does not, they just pick up a different blade. I nodded. So he is never really out. Gu Weidong smiled a little. I will handle this for you. Thanks, hold the thanks. He looked at me. My daughter's birthday is next week. Small get-together. Bring your daughter. I looked at him. Sounds like you two are doing well. Gu Weidong's expression softened. Thanks to your tip after I found Nuan Nuan. I put in a lot of effort. I have been turning down outside stuff lately. Home with her every day. She paused. She never had a dad growing up, now she does. But she does not have many friends yet. I want to find her some kids her own age. How old is your daughter? 5. My Nuan Nuan is 6. They will get along great. He looked at me. Bring your wife and kid next weekend. I nodded. Sounds good. When I got home, Sarah was out on the terrace watering the roses. I filled her in. She listened and stopped the watering can mid-air. Wait, Gu Weidong, that friend you mentioned before. Yeah, Sarah visibly tensed up. So what is his place like? What should I wear? What should Cassie wear? Do we need to bring a gift? I could not help laughing. Sarah relaxed. She took a slow breath. I have never dealt with people like this, the Gu Weidong you have mentioned. I have heard you bring him up a few times. He sounds like old money, serious family. I thought about it. His grandfather is the real deal. Old establishment family for sure. Sarah went pale. But then I added Gu Weidong himself is the biggest underachiever in that family. He and I are cut from the same cloth, just a couple of misfits. Sarah gave me a look. I put my arm around her. Stop overthinking it. Let us go get you and Cassie something nice to wear tomorrow. Then swing by the car show and next weekend we roll up in style. Looking good, trust me. These are just regular people. Probably doing a little worse than us right now, she laughed. And gave me a light smack. The next day, in the fanciest department store in Ninghai, I picked out a cream white dress for Sarah. She took it into the fitting room, and a few minutes later, the door opened and she walked out. I stopped. The dress fit perfectly. The cream white made her skin look even brighter, her hair down. She tilted her head slightly, looking at me, and in that moment, I thought of all the celebrities and models I had seen in my past life, but not one of them had ever hit me like this. Does it look good? She asked quietly. I did not answer. I just kept looking at her. The sales associate said softly, "Ma'am, this dress was made for you." Sarah smiled and glanced in the mirror. Then she picked up the price tag and her smile froze. She turned to me, eyes wide with alarm. "Babe, 6,800, wrap it up." I handed my card to the associate and pointed at another piece. "That one and the skirt next to it, bring both for her to try." Sarah grabbed my arm and dropped her voice. "Way too expensive," I ignored her, and nodded at the associate to go get them. The girl's eyes lit up. She walked briskly toward the rack. A few minutes later, the fitting room door opened and Sarah stepped out in a deep navy velvet gown. The neckline was just right, the waist elegantly defined. I had her try a light gray knit set and then a minimalist black dress. Every single one looked incredible, not because of the clothes, but because she made them all look incredible, wrapped them all up. After the card went through, the associate returned it with both hands. "Sir, ma'am, let me get your items packaged up." Just then, Cassie tugged my hand. "Daddy, I need to go to the bathroom." I looked down at her. "Okay, Daddy will take you." I turned to Sarah. "Stay here and collect everything. I am taking Cassie to the restroom. Be right back." She nodded. I took Cassie's hand and headed toward the restrooms deeper in the mall. I only found out later that not long after I left, two young women walked past the store entrance. One of them glanced inside casually and suddenly stopped dead. "Sis." Sarah turned and looked equally surprised. "Xiao Yue." It was Sarah's cousin, Lucy Liu. Lucy rushed in and looked Sarah up and down. "Sis, it is really you. I thought I was seeing things." Sarah laughed. "What are you doing here?" "Meeting a friend for dinner?" Lucy's eyes dropped to the dress. The cream white dress Sarah had not yet changed out of. "Sis, are you shopping here?" Sarah tugged at the skirt a little self-consciously. "Oh, just browsing." Lucy's friend had stepped inside too, looking Sarah over curiously. Lucy caught herself. "Oh, right. This is my cousin, Sis. This is my friend. We are heading to dinner." "Nice to meet you," Sarah nodded at the friend. "Okay, Sis, we will head up. Call you later." Lucy pulled her friend toward the door once they rounded the corner. The friend immediately grabbed Lucy's arm. "Xiao Yue, your cousin is loaded." Lucy blinked. "Loaded? No way. Everything in that store starts at several thousand." The friend looked back over her shoulder. "I saw a whole pile of clothes on the checkout counter. Were all those hers?" "Are you serious?" Lucy slowed her pace. When Sarah mentioned running into her cousin, I did not think much of it. 2 days later, we headed to the car show with a clear plan. We needed an SUV. Sarah had given me the disclaimer on the way there. "Babe, let us not go overboard. Somewhere between 1 and 200,000 is plenty." I nodded. "Sure, whatever." In my past life, I had driven every luxury car imaginable. A car is just a car to me. We walked the floor, following the crowd. As we passed the Volkswagen booth, Cassie suddenly stopped. "Daddy, look," she pointed at something and got super excited. A retro Beetle, soft pink against a sea of cold gleaming machines. It looked like something out of a fairy tale, so cute. Cassie tugged my hand. "This car is perfect for Mommy. And for me too." I looked down at her. "You like it?" She nodded like crazy. I looked over at Sarah. She did not say anything, just looked at the car with the softest expression, then quietly asked me, "How much is it?" I knew that look. She clearly loved it, but was afraid of the price. Quietly running the numbers in her head, I waved over a sales rep. "Hello, sir, this Beetle top trim. MSRP just over 300,000, show discount applies." Sarah quietly pulled my sleeve. "Too expensive, babe." I ignored her and asked the rep. "Full cash purchase, is the floor model available?" "Yes, sir. This display unit can be driven off today." Sarah's grip on my sleeve tightened. "Babe," I turned to look at her. "Both you and Cassie love it." She stood there speechless. The rep watched with a knowing look. "But what about meeting clients?" She finally found an excuse. "You cannot exactly show up to a business meeting in a Beetle. Then we just buy a second car too," I said, matter-of-factly. "I will drive the SUV for clients. This one is yours and Cassie's." She looked at me, eyes going a little red. "Here's what we will do. I am putting in the order for your car and the SUV. You go pick the SUV, any brand, any price range, your call deal." She gave a small nod and took Cassie toward the other booths. I handled the paperwork on this end. Half an hour later, everything was done. I was about to go find them when my phone rang. Sarah's voice was clearly off. "Babe, where are you?" "Get to booth 6 now." "What happened?" "They pushed Cassie. Get over here." The last few words were tight with anger and panic. I hung up. and got there fast. By the time I arrived, a crowd had already gathered. I pushed through and found Sarah crouched down, holding Cassie tight, glaring at someone across from her, face red with fury. Cassie was in her arms. Shoulders shaking, across from them stood a woman. Early 30s, black blazer, work badge pinned to her chest, booth manager, arms folded, a few security guards flanking her. What happened? I walked over. When Sarah saw me, she handed Cassie over to me and spun toward the woman. Why did you shove my child? She is 4 years old. Are you also 4? The woman let out a sharp exhale. Ma'am, please control yourself. First, this is our booth, and we have every right to protect our display vehicles. Second, the barrier was right there. Your daughter climbed in herself. Third, she held up 3 fingers. I simply blocked her lightly. She lost her balance and fell. That is not on me. You are making a scene and damaging our booth's image. I can have security escort you out. You can. What? The woman cut Sarah off. If you feel wronged, you are welcome to file a complaint against booth 6. My name is Linda, always available. But I should warn you, we see these kinds of complaints all the time. She said it while letting her eyes drift from Sarah's face down to Cassie in my arms and gave a small dismissive laugh. Kids get bumps and bruises. Just take her home and calm her down. No need to cause a scene. If you are looking to scam us, we have legal counsel. She straightened her blazer, voice dripping with arrogance. Besides, this is a premium booth. We cater exclusively to high net worth clients. The level of service you receive naturally corresponds to your financial standing. If your assets meet our threshold, she leaned slightly forward, lowered her voice just enough to make sure everyone around could still hear. I would get on my knees and lick your shoes. The question is, do you qualify? After hearing Sarah's version, I had a clear picture. Cassie had spotted a big SUV and thought it would suit her daddy. Wanted to take a closer look. The barrier rope was set at adult height. The red rope was right at Cassie's eye level. She did not even notice it. And then this Linda had shoved Cassie to the ground. I stepped forward and pulled Sarah close. Cassie back in Sarah's arms. I looked at Linda. Tone even manager Linda, right? You just said service levels correspond to net worth. I think that is fair. Linda's mouth curled, thinking I was about to back down. I ignored her and turned toward the staff inside, who looked completely lost. 5 cars were lined up in the booth. Linda had mentioned 1 was already sold. 4 were still available. I pointed at all 4. I will take all 4 of those. What? Linda blinked. The staff all froze. I said it again. All 4 full cash. Write it up. Nobody moved. I looked at them. What do you think? I cannot afford it. I pulled out my bank card and set it on the counter beside me, then pulled out the receipt from the Beetle purchase I had just made at the Volkswagen booth and slapped it down. This is the transaction I just completed next door. Feel free to check. A young woman with a ponytail hesitated, then walked over and picked up the receipt. She glanced at it and her eyes went wide. She instinctively covered her mouth, then looked up at me. Her entire demeanor had shifted. Sarah had stopped being angry. She hurried over and grabbed my arm. Babe, are you really doing this? Even if you are, do it somewhere else. I sat her down, patted her hand and said, trust me. When the paperwork was nearly done, I suddenly bent down, slipped one of Sarah's heels off and tossed it on the floor in front of Linda. Linda stared at the shoe on the floor. Her face turned purple. Manager Linda, I'm wondering if my net worth meets the standard for your premium client services. I asked, her lips trembling. She could not get a word out. The crowd around us had grown. Some people were whispering, some had their phones out recording. She still had nothing to say. I shook my head. Looks like your company's service commitment is a little lacking. I turned to the ponytail girl who had handled my paperwork. Cancel all 4. The girl froze, sir? Linda's face went completely pale during the car show. To push sales, the first 2 days allowed cancellations with no penalty. Later days, only a small deposit deduction, but no normal person actually does that. Who has time to buy and cancel and buy again? But now that rule was about to be her downfall. Right then, a familiar voice cut through the crowd behind us. Hey man, what are you doing here? Mr. Liu pushed through the crowd and strode over. I turned to look at him. Mr. Liu, what are you doing here too? Came to check out cars. He walked up beside me. Glanced at the shoe on the floor, then at Linda frozen in place. What is going on? I gave him the short version. Mr. Liu's face darkened. He turned and looked at the row of cars. His eyes landed on the SUV. He paused. This one. He pulled out his phone and scrolled. Held it up in front of me. Is this the one? There was a photo on the screen, the exact same SUV. Even the same angle, brother. This is the one I ordered. You ordered it right, meant for you. He pointed at the car. Last time you said no to the house. So I figured I would get you a nice car. This one was set for delivery tomorrow. He turned to Linda, his eyes going cold. You pushed a little kid. Linda's face lost all its color. Mr. Liu, I did not know. He cut her off. Waved his hand. Cancel it. I do not want this car anymore. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Hey Jang, the dark green SUV at booth 6. The one I ordered. Cancel it. Yeah, right now. Linda was completely stunned. Soon a middle-aged man in a suit rushed over, sweat pouring down his forehead. Mr. Liu, what happened? Mr. Liu said, Director Zheng, your manager here is something else. My little niece wanted to look at a car and got shoved to the ground. Director Zheng's face went pale. He turned to Linda. His look was murderous. Linda opened her mouth. Director Xinglai effective immediately. You no longer work for this company. Linda's knees buckled. She sank to the floor. We left booth 6 and I quickly put the whole mess behind us. Mr. Liu stuck around with us chatting as we walked. When we hit the rest area, he suddenly stopped. Brother, that whole thing happened because of me today. I am buying you guys a car. Do not even argue with me, I paused. Mr. Liu, really no need if you do not take it. That means you look down on me. He was dead set. He turned to Sarah. Sis, tell him he is disrespecting me by refusing. You owe me that much. Sarah was caught off guard. Being put on the spot, she glanced at me. I nodded slightly. We were actually thinking about a minivan. Around 200,000. Mr. Liu's eyes lit up. Easy, leave it to me. I am an expert on minivans. I will pick you the perfect one. He took off, then turned back after a few steps. What are you standing there for? Let us go. Sarah and I exchanged a look, half laughing. We just picked up Cassie and followed Mr. Liu, led us straight to the Mercedes booth like he owned the place. A sleek silver minivan sat in the center of the booth, a leggy model posing beside it. For photos, Mr. Liu walked right past her without even a glance. Pointed straight at the car, this one. Then waved the staff over the leggy model, visibly froze. Mid-pose, the staff member hurried over. Hello, sir, are you sure about this one? Positive, Mr. Liu said. Then turned and started his pitch to Sarah. Sis, trust me on this. Seriously, this checks every box for you. Big name brand Mercedes drives with real class. Plenty of space, perfect for clients and family both. He rattled it off like a pro. I glanced at the car, then at the badge on the booth and could not help laughing. Mr. Liu, do you know how much this costs? He blinked. 200 grand, right sis? Just said that this is a Mercedes AMG. I pointed at the badge, not 200,000. Closer to 2 million? Mr. Liu's face froze for a second. Sarah jumped. 2 million, that is way too much. Mr. Liu, this is too much. We cannot accept this. Mr. Liu recovered fast. I played dumb, huh? Did not you say 2 million? I must have misheard. Seeing us both stay quiet, he just doubled down. Fine, I will admit it. I did that on purpose. But a 200 grand gift is too cheap for me to give. If I am giving you something, you are taking it. And I am not leaving this spot until you do. He plopped himself down right there. I watched him being so stubborn and just laughed. Mr. Liu had made good money off my tips, but he was never the type to just take. He always found ways to pay it back. I glanced at Sarah. She was still trying to refuse. I walked over and patted his shoulder. Just take it. He looked up at me. A little surprised, I nodded. Mr. Liu saw me nod and jumped right up, like he was scared. I would change my mind. He waved at the staff. Write it up cash right now. That weekend, I drove the AMG with Sarah and Cassie to Gu Weidong's daughter's birthday party. The gated community was quiet. Gu Weidong was waiting right at the entrance. When he saw us get out, he hurried over. Brother, sis, come on in. He pulled a little girl in a white princess dress to his side. Nuan, say hi to uncle and auntie. She had delicate features, but her eyes were a little guarded, she said shyly. Hi, uncle, hi, auntie. Before we could even introduce Cassie, her eyes lit up. She walked right over and grabbed Nuan's hand. Your name is Nuan, I am Cassie. Let us go play. The two girls held hands, whispering to each other, and ran off into the yard. Nuan hesitated and looked at Gu Weidong. He nodded with a smile, then she gave a soft okay. Sarah looked a little embarrassed and leaned in to whisper, Why is Cassie so pushy? I laughed. No, it is great. She is getting more outgoing. She has got potential. Gu Weidong was thrilled, clapping his hands. That is wonderful. Ever since I got Nuan back, I felt like she was too withdrawn. Always off by herself, never wanting to play with anyone. Now she is playing with a girl her own age. That means everything. Sarah's eyes flickered with confusion. She glanced at me. I just gave a light smile, and did not ask. It was not our business. Gu Weidong picked up on it right away. You know my situation, brother. I got her back. But her mom still will not forgive me. I nodded and told him, give it time. Some things cannot be rushed. Let it happen naturally. He perked right up hearing that. Brother, hearing you say that puts my mind at ease. Sarah watched all this with a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She had not expected someone so successful to listen to me like that. I will go check on the girls, he said, and headed toward the yard. Gu Weidong seized the moment and pulled me aside. Brother, come, let us sit in the study. The study was upstairs. I opened the door and froze. There was a gray-haired old man sitting inside, slowly sipping tea. Grandpa Gu. Gu Weidong looked a little sheepish. Honestly, my dad wanted to meet you. I was worried you would say no, so I did not mention it beforehand. I stepped forward and said, hello, sir. Grandpa Gu set down his teacup, stood and nodded at me. Young Chen, please sit. He personally poured me a cup of tea and handed it over with both hands. Young Chen, you helped me get my granddaughter back. An old man like me has got to toast you properly. Thank you. I took the cup with both hands. You are too kind, sir. I did not help Gu Weidong for nothing, though. Grandpa Gu nodded. I know it was for your daughter. He gestured at Gu Weidong and was nodded the same for his. A win for everyone involved. He paused, looking straight at me. Eyes sharp. Of course, this old man wanting to meet you. That was not for nothing either. I caught on right away. I set down the cup. Please go ahead, sir. He spoke slowly. My son told me. You have quite the gift for reading fortune, so I would like you to give this old man a reading too. Grandpa Gu wanted a reading I could not really refuse. When it comes to the Gu family, I know they are different from other established families here. Their power base is mostly overseas back when the country opened up economically. There was a huge need for foreign capital and technology. Grandpa Gu seized the moment and brought in plenty. Combined with connections he built with some founding-era officials while studying abroad, the Gu family gradually gained a foothold at home. Their reach eventually extended into politics too. This background is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it is hard for them to fully belong easy to be seen as outsiders. On the other hand, it keeps them above the fray with no real conflicts with anyone. Other established families need the Gu family's help when expanding overseas, so everyone gives the old man some respect, but one incident did cause bad blood with a top-tier family here. Years back, the Gu family donated a batch of relics to a museum a few years later. One of those pieces suddenly showed up at an auction. The old man assumed it was stolen from inside the museum. He was furious and insisted on getting to the bottom of it, but he had no idea that relic had been borrowed by a veteran official. Pushing the issue ended up offending the wrong people, and that was what forced Gu Weidong's older brother, Gu Weihong, to hold back on his own ambitions. I ran through this whole story in my head. I looked at Grandpa Gu and nodded. What would you like a reading on, sir? Just the general outlook. He paused. The future of the Gu family. I thought for a moment, then please write a character for me, sir. He picked up the brush and wrote the character for tripod. I looked at the character, then at the old man, and I understood what it meant. Some things cannot be said outright, but they can be hinted at. I picked up the brush and wrote a short verse beside it. Golden crown buried in sand for 20 autumns. Why worry about returning home? Clouds that block the sun always clear eventually. And the river still flows east. Grandpa Gu studied the verse and frowned slightly. He glanced up at me, a flash of disappointment in his eyes, but he quickly covered it and gave a faint nod. Thank you, young Chen. He folded up the note and said to Gu Weidong, put together a thank you gift for Chen on my behalf. I stood up and waved it off. Sir, you were too kind. No gift needed, it was just one character. Not worth it. I turned to leave. Walking out of the study, I already knew. The old man probably thought I was being cryptic on purpose, but that was fine. Some things are better left half said. That morning, Sarah headed to the fruit market at Wanjia first. I was on drop-off duty taking Cassie to preschool. She had barely gotten to the store when my phone rang. Babe, get over here now. The store is surrounded again. I rushed Cassie to the preschool next door and turned straight around toward Wanjia. When I got there, something felt off. A huge crowd was gathered outside the fruit store, packed in layers. I pushed through and froze right in front of my store. Kneeling was a group saying we were wrong. Leading the pack was Yang himself. Just a week ago, he had been strutting around the store. Now he was kneeling stiffly in front of the doorhead, hanging low. Face covered in bruises behind him, knelt 4 or 5 of his guys. Every one of them beat up. 2 of them had their arms in slings. This whole line was bowing in unison. Foreheads slamming right into the pavement, not holding back at all. 2 people stood off to the side, Gu Weidong's driver, and that bodyguard, arms crossed. Watching the crowd with blank faces, the onlookers were losing it. Is not that Yang? Why is he kneeling here? Who even is this fruit shop owner? Yang is kneeling for her, no idea. She looked so young, did not expect her to be this tough. I did not have time for the gossip. I hurried inside. Sarah was sitting behind the register, her face blank. Just sitting there, but I know her too well. Her hand was gripping the cup knuckles white. I went over and took her hand. It was ice cold. She looked up at me. Her eyes instantly went red. Babe, they showed up and started kneeling the second we opened. It scared me half to death. I was a little speechless. Everyone out there thinks you are the tough one, and here you are scared stiff. I patted her hand, then went back out to find the driver. What happened? The driver was extremely polite. Mr. Chen, boss's orders. Have them kneel and apologize until you and your wife are satisfied. No set number. If you are not satisfied, they keep going. I nodded and walked over, crouching in front of Yang. Yang looked up at me, sweat pouring down his face. Skin split open on his forehead, blood mixing with sweat. We meet again, Yang. I looked at him. You had your guys smash my truck, right, and dump the dragon fruit. And beat up my driver too, so what should we do about it? Maybe you leave a hand behind. His face went white. He started slamming his head down again. Boss, I was wrong. I did not know who I was messing with. I will pay for anything. You mean money? Yes, yes, yes. Double for the truck, the fruit, the medical bills, triple even. I waved him off. Forget the money. Are there any other shops in Wanjia you are still shaking down for protection money? He opened his mouth. Yes or no, there are. Pay it all back. And none of your guys sets foot in this market again, understood? He nodded like crazy. Understood, understood. I will refund it all right now if my guys ever step foot in Wanjia again. I will cut my own hand off. I stood up and did not look back at him. Suddenly the crowd erupted. Did you hear that? No more protection money. The boss lady is something else. She kicked those punks out for all of us more than something else. She is legit fierce. Yang has been running wild for years. Nobody dared touch him. I am buying my fruit here from now on. I was stunned. I was the one who negotiated all this. It was me who made Yang refund the money. It was me who ran him off. Why is everyone thanking the boss lady? I glanced back at Sarah. She was still sitting behind the register. The fright still on her face. Fine. Boss lady, it is either way. I am the one taking the boss lady home tonight. Gu Weidong took care of the Yang situation so fast. I decided to push him a little further once the call connected. I thanked him first. Gu, thanks for handling that Yang thing. No big deal, Gu Weidong said. I already gave Lai a heads up. He will not try anything again. Good, I paused. Oh, by the way, about that character reading for your dad. I did not spell everything out. Something involving relics. I cannot say too much. Do not want to overstep, but peace of mind is its own blessing. Some things are better not dwelt on too much. Gu Weidong went quiet for a second. I get it. I will tell my dad. I hung up. That was enough said. Whatever the Gu family decided after that was not my business. At lunch, we all sat around a small table eating takeout. Deandian was scrolling her phone between bites and suddenly gasped. My family's place is getting demolished. This girl was hired to help Sarah with the live streams. A local from Ninghai, always chatty. Bubbly all day long. What is up? Look at this news push. She handed me her phone. I took it and read big headline: Southwest Old Town redevelopment kicks off. Riverside Business District expansion. The exact same thing I mentioned at Mr. Liu's dinner table. Old Town demolition and the expansion both nailed it. I handed the phone back and kept eating. I caught Sarah watching me out of the corner of my eye. She did not say anything, but I knew that look. She was remembering that day too. I met her eyes and gave a little wink. She blinked, then pressed her lips into a smile and went back to eating right at that moment. A car screeched to a stop outside. A black Mercedes pulled right up to the entrance. The door flew open. Mr. Liu practically jumped out. Brother, he came charging in, sweat still on his forehead. Mr. Liu, what is going on? You have got to help me this time. He plopped down across from me. That Southwest District plan. You saw the news, right? Just saw it. Nailed it exactly. He slapped the table. Everything you said that day came true. New mayor comes in and his first big move is the Old Town redevelopment and the Riverside expansion. He took a deep breath. Brother, I am under so much pressure right now. I tapped the table. You got heavier stakes, so of course there is more pressure. That is exactly the problem. He rubbed his hands anxiously. Vanguard Group is the hot topic right now, but Old Town redevelopment is no walk in the park. Relocation compensation, historic buildings, existing businesses, one misstep anywhere. And the people watching me will tear me apart. He lowered his voice. A while back, I traded some other land parcels to buy up a bunch of Southwest District property from other companies. Back then, they laughed at me for being stupid. Now they are green with envy. Waiting for me to screw it up, I listened without saying anything. The new mayor already came to see me. Mr. Liu kept going. The district chief asked for specifics. I told him I would deliver something he would be happy with soon. He leaned in. Brother, you have got to help me on this one no matter what. I tapped the table. Mr. Liu, your company has plenty of skilled execs. This kind of project needs the whole company's resources. I am an outsider. It is not really my place. What do you mean not your place? Come be our CEO. 10 million a year sound good? I shook my head. I like my freedom too much. I could not do CEO. Then how about this? His mind was racing. You come on as executive director, acting CEO, just for this. Once we clear the Southwest District project. You come and go as you please, brother. I will not stop you. I laughed. I do not even hold shares in your company. Why would I be executive director? He grinned. As for Wanjia, I bought up a good chunk of shares a while back. I will just transfer them all to you. Then we swap those shares for a stake in Vanguard Group. Problem solved. I paused for a second. That offer was actually interesting. With Wanjia shares, I would not just be a tenant there anymore. I would be a shareholder in the market itself. That is a huge difference. I thought about it and held up two fingers. Two conditions. First, the Wanjia shares get valued at full market price. I will sell you the favor, but the money stays fair. No discount. He opened his mouth to say something. I raised a hand to stop him. Second, I looked him dead in the eye. The Southwest District plan, I get full authority. I set the plan, I pick the team, I run the process. Everyone at Vanguard Group, including you, Mr. Liu, follows my lead. Mr. Liu froze for a second, then he burst out laughing. Genuinely delighted. Deal. He held out his hand. Brother, it is settled. The share swap wrapped up in 3 days. On the fourth day, at an emergency shareholder meeting, Sarah and I officially became new shareholders of Vanguard Group. Her stake was small, but a shareholder is still a shareholder. That morning before we left, she stood in front of the mirror for almost 20 minutes. Navy business suit hair pulled up, exposing her pale neck. I paused. First time I had ever seen her dressed like that. Total corporate power woman. The shareholder meeting wrapped up quickly. I became CEO. Sarah sat in the back, quietly watching the whole thing. Then it was time to meet the leadership team. Mr. Liu wanted to bring Sarah along. Sis, you are a shareholder now too. Come listen in. Sarah looked at me, eyes hopeful. I nodded. Let us go listen. The executive conference room was packed with leadership. Familiar faces nodded hello. Unfamiliar ones sized me up, some with outright disdain, especially the man in the seat to the left. A square-jawed man in his 50s, his eyes full of hostility. Mr. Liu whispered Huquan, the general manager. With you here, his power shrinks after Mr. Liu announced my appointment. He stressed going forward if my opinion clashes with Mr. Chen's. Mr. Chen's call wins, the room stirred. Huquan's mouth twisted downward. I stood and gave a brief introduction. Applause was thin. Huquan did not move. Just as I was about to sit down, he spoke up. Mr. Chen, not even 30, running the company at this age? Has not happened once in Vanguard's history, has it? Someone beside him chimed in, bachelor's degree. Unrelated, major real estate has serious barriers to entry. Is Mr. Chen really up for this? I did not answer. A guy in glasses jumped in. The Southwest District project involves relocation and redevelopment. The plan has been revised over 600 pages. Does Mr. Chen feel confident handling that? Right then, Huquan stood up staring at me. I have a specific question. The Southwest District redevelopment has 3 sites with late Qing early Republic era buildings that need preserving. During construction, we need to redo underground pipelines and excavate the foundations. One wrong move and we get subsidence or collapse. We have spent a month on this. Does Mr. Chen have a solution? The whole room was watching me. Sarah's fingers tensed slightly. She could tell. This was a power play if I could not give a real answer. Nobody in that room would back me up. I looked down at the blueprints. The 3 historic buildings were clearly marked. The surrounding pipelines and foundations were noted too. Huquan had actually done his homework. I looked up and smiled calmly. Time for Sarah to see what her husband was really made of. Mr. Hugh, good question. I set the blueprint back down, but before I answer, let me ask you something first. This is the 6th revision of the plan, and the budget is 30 million for continuous wall piling, right? Huquan paused for half a second. Yes, around 30 million. I shifted gears. Then do you know this plan has a fatal flaw? His expression flickered. What flaw? I pushed the blueprint forward. Late Qing early Republic era buildings have foundations no deeper than 2 meters at most. But you are driving continuous piling down 12 meters straight through the foundation. Once you punch through, it shifts the groundwater flow and erodes the soil under the foundation. This is not preservation. This is accelerated destruction.